Chapter 585. After County Magistrate Lin finished talking about the complicated situation in Huichuan County, Sun Lang also felt that the situation in Huichuan County was not good, thanks to his ability to narrate clearly. Basically, the county magistrate also took the opportunity to explain the situation and tactfully expressed his position to him and the emperor's concubine. This matter was already not something that he, the county magistrate, could solve. After Sir Lin Wuying finished speaking, he looked at Sun Lang anxiously, hoping that the other party would say something to affirm his work. He finally understood that although this young man, who didn't know his limits, didn't seem to get along with Her Highness the Emperor's concubine, he seemed to be the one who made the decisions. Even the general of heavenly strategies was afraid of him. Is he a prince? He doesn't look like one. While he was thinking about the identity of this prince, he suddenly saw Sun Lang's body shake and his lips move, as if he was about to give a speech. The county magistrate listened attentively. After a while, Sun Lang let out a long sigh of relief and said, "This is really a small temple, but a shallow pond is full of bastards." Lin Wuying was speechless. Why did these words sound so awkward? Sun Lang smiled and said, "Zhengying, about that demon. I mean about the heavenly weapon. Do you have any information or clues?" "It's Lin Wuying, Lin Wuying." Lin Wuying cursed in his heart, but he still said obediently, "I'm ashamed to say that the news about the heavenly weapon and its user in Huichuan County is full of mistakes and errors. There are many versions circulating on the surface. It should be someone who deliberately misleads or hides the truth. As far as I know, I don't know much about it. But recently, the statements seem to be somewhat uniform, and the direction of the wind has changed." He hesitated for a moment and said, "Now, the person who has the heavenly weapon should be a young and beautiful girl. Recently, the rumors about her have quietly changed. It is said that she is actually a demon, and her beautiful appearance is to confuse ordinary people and make them unable to pass the test of beauty. It is also said that she knows witchcraft and can spy on people's minds. Therefore, when many warriors enter the mountains, they carry dirty things like black dog's blood with them to break the witchcraft." Sun Lang clicked his tongue and said, "How inhumane. What did the dog do wrong?" Although County Magistrate Lin was a martial arts grand scholar, he had never seen any monsters in his life. He was a firm materialist and did not believe in the existence of demons. He thought that Sun Lang had the same opinion and felt that he was a confidant. He shook his head and said, "Isn't that so? In this official's opinion, there are no demons. It's just that there are demons in people's hearts." When he said this, a mocking expression appeared on his face. "I think it's also a scheme of those people to accuse that little girl of being a demon, because it's not good to steal something from a little girl, but to steal a treasure from a demon. That's to strengthen the reputation of the human race. They said that the monarch weapon was a gift from Hutu. How could it fall into the hands of the evil man? Just this reason alone would allow him to stand on the moral high ground, with this flag covering him. Even if he bullied the weak and snatched the treasure from weak women, he would be able to cover up all these scandals." Unexpectedly, County Magistrate Lin saw through a little of the secular world from the people of Huichuan County. It was really commendable. Sun Lang found it interesting and said with a smile, "So, County Magistrate Lin thinks that there are no more demons in this world?" Lin Wuying cupped his hands and said, "I'm not talented, but I've been practicing hard for 10 years. I passed the imperial examination and was awarded the title of Wu Jinshi. I grew up from a weak child to where I am today. It's reasonable for me to know a little bit of Kung Fu. Besides, I've read history and know about the past. I think that the legends of demons and ghosts made up by the fools in the countryside are just the deduction and conclusion of the inexplicable catastrophes and disasters that the weak people in the past were unable to resist. The plague was caused by the plague ghost, the drought was caused by the fire demon, and the war was caused by the ominous star. Humph! If these disasters were really caused by demons, then these demons would have been found and killed by us long ago." He raised his sword-like eyebrows and naturally had the arrogance of a martial artist. "Therefore, the disasters of this world are caused by the will of heaven and not by demons and ghosts. The chaos in the human world is not caused by demons and ghosts, but by people's hearts. The martial arts of the human race should kill the demons in our hearts and get rid of the ghosts in our spirits. After all kinds of disasters will arouse people's hearts, just like the farce in Huichuan County. In a final analysis, it stems from the greed of people. Otherwise, how could there be so many problems? Sun Lang listened and nodded repeatedly. Yes, I think so too. How can there be demons and ghosts in this world? They don't exist. They don't exist. Lin Wuing nodded as well. The natives of the remote villages who have never seen the world and have never practiced martial arts would probably view Ling Yun as a god when they first saw his qin gong and his strength of over 1,000 kilograms. However, this is beyond their imagination. I believe that the so-called demonic techniques are just some kind of mystical martial arts. It's just that it's a little strange and a little strong. Sun Lang echoed with a smile. A wise materialist plus 1,000. Huh? Lin Wuing was surprised. What's that? The Empress concubine watched coldly from the side. She knew Sun Lang's temper. When this bastard smiled happily with his eyes squinted and said some strange things to agree with the other party, this bastard was probably already preparing to dig a hole. After all, County Magistrate Lin was her lackey. She couldn't watch such a good person step into the abyss. So General Tensei said, County Magistrate Lin, let's not talk about irrelevant things. Lin Wuing just remembered that the big boss was there, but he had just chattered a lot. He couldn't help but be shocked. He was usually cautious in his words and deeds. How could he be led away by the big boss all of a sudden? He hurriedly apologized, but the Empress concubine waved her hand. We are here for that divine weapon. County Magistrate Lin is the county magistrate of this county, so you should be familiar with this matter. Do you have any wise opinions? County Magistrate Lin thought for a while, then stood up and said, How many elites can your highness mobilize for this trip? The Emperor concubine glanced at Sun Lang and said indifferently, If this honorable person doesn't want to use public power for personal gain and entrust this task to him, choose husband, people of 1. If the army of Song Province is mobilized to sweep the Huichuan Mountains, I'm afraid we won't have any elite soldiers. Wait, wife candidate. Who? General Zhao, one of the Motherf ****. The way County Magistrate Lin looked at Sun Lang immediately changed. It was as if he was looking at the biggest and most evil gigolo in the history of the empire. If the princess wasn't joking, and if General Zhao Yunlong was just one of his women, then with the scale and strength of this person's harem, it was probably enough to make the heavenly policy residents back off and the princess lower her head. When Sun Lang heard this, he was unhappy. He said unhappily, Is there no one else in Tensei Province? How many capable people have you collected over the years? Call them over. Give me the roster first. Empress said coldly, Do I look like a fool to you? Why are you in such a hurry to push your loyal subordinates into the fire pit? If they fall into your hands, they will be skinned alive, both in the open and in the dark. Sun Lang glared at her. Are you trying to cheat? You said you would help. General Tensei was not to be outdone. Didn't I help? Whose horse did you ride along the way? Whose money did you use? Tensei Province arranged for you to rest, stay, and eat. Which one of them didn't? You went crazy on the road today and found trouble tomorrow. You lowered yourself to fool around with a group of common people who wiped your ass for you. It's fine if you only messed around with some swindlers, bandits, and evildoers. But the disciples of famous sects, the young master of famous villa, and even the general's son, the relative of an important minister, you took a fancy to them and coaxed them to provoke you. You said you wanted to experience the life of the Jianghu. Bah, how can you make a living in the Jianghu like you? Sun Lang said proudly. What do you know? I'm letting these rich second generations understand their position. I'm letting them learn from their mistakes. In this world, it's rare to see a kind protagonist like me. Other protagonists pretend to be pigs to eat tigers. After the deed, they will have to kill their whole family or chase their sister. I'm just scaring them and letting them learn some principles of life. If they encounter such cruel protagonists in the future, because they are obedient, sensible, and calm, they will be able to keep their family's lives and their sister's chastity. This is all my merit. Empress said coldly. From what I see, even if you're unreasonable, you still want to stir up some trouble. There's no lie that you can't make. Sun Lang raised his thumb and middle finger, rolled his eyes at General Tensei, and said sarcastically, "Oh, Your Highness, your words are too harsh. When it comes to lying and deceiving people, even Tenemi can't compare to you." Empress said angrily, "When did I lie and deceive people?" Sun Lang pretended to wipe his tears. "This bastard cheated my body a few years ago and raped me for so many years. Now he doesn't even admit it." Seeing that this topic was getting more and more explosive, Lin Wuying and the other henchmen of Tensei province felt more and more insignificant. They wished they could turn into insignificant dust and scatter in the world. Oh my God, is Her Highness also having an affair with this man? Just as this thought appeared in Mr. Lin's mind, he suddenly shivered. When he looked up, his soul almost flew out of his body, because the two adults who were quarreling turned their heads and stared at him. Their eyes were deep and cold, like two mountains that could crush a small stone like him. "Hey, what are you thinking about?" Sun Lang said gently. "I have nothing to do with this woman. If you report irresponsibly, I will be angry." County Magistrate Lin, you are a person with a bright future. Don't shut your mouth forever because of a trivial matter. Empress said faintly, "There are many talents in Tensei province who can make a living person disappear silently. I have forgotten everything. Bowing to the evil forces. Bowing to the evil forces." Chapter 586. No matter how much Sun Lang and Empress argued, County Magistrate Lin had no useful suggestions. Since Lin Wuying was the county magistrate of Huichuan County and had been guarding this place for several years, he could be considered an attentive civil servant. He knew the surroundings of Huichuan County like the back of his hand and could be said to be the best guide. However, there was no soldier at his disposal in Tensei province, and there would be no armed reinforcements from Songzhou. Therefore, the county magistrate could not even be a spy. After all, there were only dozens of county soldiers and yamen runners in the county. Today, the public security in the county was rapidly deteriorating, and they could not even guarantee the immediate dispatch of the police. Moreover, the county magistrate was a local. It was fine if he used his official uniform to intimidate the unruly peasants, but it was beyond his ability to suppress the idle people in the county who came from all over the country. After all, those unemployed vagrants claimed to have traveled the world. They had been to every state in the empire and had seen countless eagle claws of the imperial court. They could be said to have experienced hundreds of battles. The public security continued to deteriorate, and the social stability decreased. This involved most of County Magistrate Lin's energy. Anyway, he was a responsible good shepherd. Seeing that the county magistrate could not suppress the situation, he had no choice but to do it himself. With his martial arts as a jinshi and his deterrence as the secretary of the county party committee, he temporarily suppressed those people who tried to form a gang and made them not dare to go too far. After all, the war had only stopped for 2 years. The empire had maintained unparalleled authority and orthodoxy in the local areas with the prestige of winning the Tianyuan War and the efficient system that had been in a state of war for decades. These Jianghu people were not idiots who had heard too many third-rate novels. Usually they would just say things like eagle claws, dog officials, and nobles. How would they dare to fight against a county magistrate with real swords and spears? Moreover, every county magistrate was basically a military officer sent out to become an official. Each and every one of them had crossed a single plank bridge in a military examination with thousands of troops and horses. Even if you dared to throw a brick at someone, you still had to consider whether you could win or not. But all this avoidance and respect were based on County Magistrate Lin's impartiality and neutrality. If he only performed the duties of a county magistrate and maintained public order, then everyone would follow him. But if he dared to share the meat and stand against the people, then the anger of the Jianghu heroes would turn into an iron fist of democracy and fall on Magistrate Lin's head, as the law did not punish the masses. After all, in order to get the egg knife, the Illidari men even dared to chop Illidan. It could be seen how tempting the divine outfit was. If the county magistrate blocked the opportunity of the Jianghu heroes to explode the divine weapon, even if he was a county magistrate, he would not care so much. Empress then glanced at Sunlang. Tensei province had no soldiers, Songzhou had no reinforcements, and County Magistrate Lind was unreliable. If he wanted to succeed in this chaotic situation, he would have to rely on Sun Lang's cunning mind. Of course, Sun Lang did not disappoint. In a moment, he used his invincible platinum star to think of a solution. He shook the non-existent feather fan and smiled faintly. It's easy to hear. We have to think about the problem from a different perspective. Now, the situation is really very complicated, and it is difficult for everyone to carry out their work. However, we have to see the essence through the appearance. We have to start from the key point of the matter and break the situation in one fell swoop. Sun Lang paced a few steps in place and said cheerfully, "My purpose is to get the divine sword." Now, the difficulty is actually reflected in one aspect. That is, the target is hidden in this mountain and is difficult to find. First, I am afraid that the target will escape and waste our time. Second, I am afraid that some small fry will step on dog shit and explode the divine weapon, then escape and waste our time. The other difficulties are not worth worrying about. It was indeed so. Now, they were not afraid that many people would come to rob it, but they were afraid that they could not find it. As long as the sword appeared in the world, no matter who had it, it would be surnamed Sunday Empress said coldly. That's right. So what are you going to do? Sun Lang smiled reservedly, looking like a wise man who was devising strategies. I have a plan. Please listen carefully. Why do these crooked melons and split dates form a team? It is because there is strength in numbers. The most important problem now is not that we can't get the sword, but that we can't find it. In other words, the news is not well informed. In order to spread the news faster, we need more people. Well, the problem came back to the original point. General Tensei sneered. So you're going to call for reinforcements? Call for reinforcements, my ass. Manpower? Aren't there only people left in Huichuan County now? Sun Lang waved his hand and made a gesture of pointing at the mountains. With so many people at my disposal, what's there to worry about? The mockery on Empress Concubine's face became even thicker. She nodded and said, "It seems like you're going to use your extremely strong charisma to move these people of the pugilistic world and make them willingly work for you. What? You want to shake your tiger body and make these people bow their heads, go through water and tread on fire for you, follow your orders without complaint and never betray you." Sun Lang smiled and said, "You read too many books. I am a real man of action and a realist. I only talk about benefits, not ideals." General Tensei sneered and said, "Oh, are you going to give them money?" Sun Lang nodded cheerfully. That's right, that's right. Anyway, it's all reimbursed by the Heavenly Policy Mansion. If I don't take advantage of you, I'll be letting down the millions of poor proletarians." Empress gritted her teeth. "Don't even think about it. No money. No money. Stingy, and you don't have the slightest economic sense. As the saying goes, Rottenwood becomes an official in the imperial court, and beasts make a living on the walls. It's referring to the trash of your generation." Sun Lang said proudly. "Who want your money? Look, I used to teach you how to fight a war. Today, I will teach you how to fight a war and make money out of it." Two flames of excitement flashed in his eyes. He rubbed his hands and muttered to himself, "Humph, humph, humph. It's time to take out this big killer weapon." Empress had a bad premonition. "What do you want to do?" "Of course, I want to borrow everyone's strength." Sun Lang clenched his fists and looked like he was about to release a vitality bomb. The government forces want to take everything. The civilian forces want to unite, and the merchant forces want to make money. These people are selfish after all. They're the reactionary class that needs to be defeated. In other words, this carnival will eventually become a carnival for a very small number of people. Most of the people with dreams in their hearts will spend their time, sweat, money, and even lives here. In the end, this peerless divine weapon, this great fortune, everything will have nothing to do with them. They are destined to return in vain and get nothing. Is this fair? He said passionately, "No, it's not fair. The fairness of most people is not guaranteed. Who will protect their interests? No, no one. In this selfish and cruel world, those despicable and shameless hyenas are busy with their own interests, ignoring the interests of the masses. This indifferent world, this unfair situation, must be fundamentally corrected." County Magistrate Lin and the henchmen of Tensei Province stared dumbfounded at Sun Lang's seamless change of style. He suddenly changed from a lunatic who spoke without thinking to such a hot-blooded good person. Such a sudden change made them unable to react for a moment. Only Empress was familiar with this guy and knew Sun Lang's temper like the back of her hand. Generally speaking, if he spoke in a dignified manner, his thoughts would be darker and dirtier. From the gleam in his eyes, she could tell that the vast number of people entrenched in Huichuan were about to suffer. She sighed. "So how do you want to protect the interests of most people?" Sun Lang's saliva splattered everywhere as he said, "Think about it. When it comes to divine artifacts, it's all about chance. As the saying goes, an ordinary man is innocent, but treasuring a jade ring will arouse the envy of others. Tell me, if an ordinary man of Jianghu obtains a divine weapon, will he be able to keep it? Obviously, he won't be able to. In this dark world full of schemes and betrayals, he may be hacked to death in the next moment. So, even if he picks up a divine weapon, there won't be any benefits. More likely, he will lose his life. And then, obviously, he needs a guarantee and a channel to cash in." Sun Lang said kindly, "Not only does he need it, but everyone needs it. Because everyone has a chance to be the lucky one. Everyone has a chance to obtain a divine weapon, but most people can't keep it. Instead of holding on to a divine weapon that can lead to death at any time, it's better to exchange it for money that can never be spent in a lifetime. So what do you plan to do? It's very simple. Make the cake bigger. Expand the benefits of obtaining a divine weapon. Turn it into the interests of most people. Let them know that even if a lucky one obtains a divine weapon, he won't return empty-handed. Let them know that there are many people standing with them. Their interests are the same. They protect each other. That's why they can be united and strong." Empress seemed to understand a little. She looked at Sun Lang in shock. "Wait, you want?" Sun Lang showed a benevolent smile and nodded. "Yes, I can't bear to see them pay too much for an illusory reason and get nothing. Everyone with dreams should be treated gently by the world. So, I'm determined to unite them, unite their power, and unite their interests in a win-win way." County Magistrate Lin couldn't help but ask, "Sir, what's your way?" Sun Lang smiled and said gently, "Of course, it's to issue stocks." The Empress' concubine revealed a helpless expression. County Magistrate Lin didn't understand and asked, "Stocks? Stocks? Haven't you heard of stocks?" Sun Lang's face was full of the glory of capital. "Can we set up a divine sword stock? Everyone can buy shares according to the original share price. The raised funds will be used to find the divine sword, and the profits will come from the dividends after the auction. First, we'll find some ghostwriters to raise the price of the divine sword, and then..." Chapter 587. At night, in the back hall of the Huichuan County government, the invisible and terrifying darkness was spreading. County Magistrate Lin had just said that he believed that all kinds of disasters would arouse people's hearts. Now he was more and more certain of his point of view. This person was simply so evil that he was about to fall to the ground. An evil plan came out of this man's mouth, which caught people off guard. He was simply a wolf in sheep's clothing. When Sun Lang talked about his evil plan, County Magistrate Lin listened with great interest at first, as if he had opened the door to a new world. But soon he came to his senses. This was a trap, because there was a fatal problem with Sun Lang's investment plan, which was full of the spirit of humanism and the glory of socialism. Lin Wuying hesitated for a moment and stammered, "Sir, your so-called investment." Sun Lang was shocked at first, and then hurriedly clarified, "Investment means to hold the stock, not to poke a hole in the ass. Don't misunderstand." County Magistrate Lin said faintly, "I didn't misunderstand, sir. I just don't quite understand something." Sun Lang liked to point out the sheep who were confused in the Taida capital very much. Hearing this, he said, "Go ahead, tell me. I'll show you the way." Lin Wuying said faintly, "You said that you want to raise the price of the divine sword and then attract people to invest in it. The promised reward is the price after selling the divine sword, right?" Sun Lang said, Yes, we can raise the market price. We can ask that group of businessmen to help us, or we can ask the Heavenly Policy Hall to find someone to act as a moneybags and tycoons to increase everyone's confidence in the market," County Magistrate Lin said. "But isn't this sword what you want? How can you talk about dividends? Can you sell it at a high price?" Sun Lang immediately shook his head violently. "Of course not. This sword has a special meaning to me. How can I sell it?" County Magistrate Lin began to panic. "Then, the so-called dividends," Sun Lang said disdainfully. "Bundles of leeks, are they worthy of asking me for dividends? It's not worth it." County Magistrate Lin panicked even more. He stammered, Then what about the money received from the investment? Of course we're going to run away." Sun Lang's expression was rampant. He was simply arrogant. He did not have the self-awareness of standing in front of the county's leader at all. He completely put on the appearance of an economic criminal. "Do you still expect me to return the money? What kind of joke is this? Why should I return the money that I earned with my own abilities?" It was said so matter-of-factly that everybody was stunned. County Magistrate Lin almost jumped to his feet and asked in shock, "That is to say, you coaxed a large number of people to buy shares in the name of investing, collected their money, and used the money and their people to find the divine weapon for you. After the divine weapon is found, you will take away the divine weapon and the money and run away?" Sun Lang said proudly, Wrong. Why would I want to run? The person who can make me run hasn't been born yet." Empress, who had been keeping a straight face, suddenly sneered when he heard this. Sun Lang flew into a rage out of humiliation. "What are you laughing at? How could it be called running away when it came to loving his wife? That's called forbearance. That's called magnanimity. That's called love." He wanted to explain how he had overturned the carriage and escaped that day, but County Magistrate Lin confirmed his guess and said anxiously, "This won't do. If those Jianghu people who kill without batting an eyelid find out that they have been cheated, if they find out that they have been cheated, it's your incompetence." Sun Lang sighed. "Let's not talk about other things. Didn't those businessmen want to make Huichuan a martial arts scenic spot? Huichuan instance, the place where the divine weapon is sleeping. Come to Huichuan and find the peerless divine weapon. I'll be waiting for you in the world of Huichuan. Look, there's even an advertisement." He explained carefully, "You see, stocks can be bought and sold, stocks can appreciate, and stocks can be used to do more things. Those businessmen can take advantage of the situation and push their plans forward. Moreover, as long as those Jianghu people are not idiots, even if they find out that it's a scam, they will help to cover up the lie so that others can take over," he explained in detail, and the more County Magistrate Lin listened, the more his hair stood on end. How evil was this guy? He was actually able to predict the human heart so accurately, the darkness and selfishness of the human heart. After the lies were exposed, he was able to clearly describe the actions of the victims. Moreover, he was able to make it sound reasonable and convincing, as if he had seen it with his own eyes. How could he be so skilled? County Magistrate Lin would never agree to it. Sun Lang made it sound so easy, but when the time came, he would run away and County Magistrate Lin would still have to stay in Huichuan. If a large group of Jianghu people here found out that they had been cheated and caused a ruckus, County Magistrate Lin's words carried little weight, and the big boss in front of him would definitely not listen to him. Therefore, County Magistrate Lin immediately looked at Empress for help, hoping that General Tensei would help him out for Dang Gu's sake. Empress was indeed loyal. She said lightly, "Good idea. It's very evil and has your style," but the woman's eyes suddenly became sharp. She stared at Sun Lang. Sun Ran said, "Are you hiding something important?" Sun Lang's expression did not change. He gave her a thumbs up and said, "Given our relationship, what can I hide from you?" "Oh," Empress sneered. She said directly, "Then tell me. Although your plan seems perfect, there are many problems from the beginning. For example, who do you think you are? You asked them to buy some Shunjian shares, and they paid for it obediently? How are you going to convince them? With your martial arts? But when they see your martial arts, won't they be more afraid and wary of you? If you don't show them your martial arts, how can you prove your credibility and reliability? Sun Lang suddenly winked at her. You people from Tensei province have a lot of businesses. Why don't you stand up for me? At most, we'll split the profits 50-50. Empress Sun Ran said, Bullsh *T. Do you want us to become the laughing stock of all the civil and military officials? Sun Lang's face was arrogant and domineering. He had not entered the capital yet, but he had already put on the airs of a powerful official. I'll break the head of whoever dares to laugh at me. I'll beat them in the Golden Palace. I'll beat them in front of your father. Tensei General said flatly, Anyway, don't even think about it. Don't mention it again if you ruin the reputation of Tensei province. Sun Lang stared at him and said, Then send me a pigeon and call a few hundred people over. You can choose one yourself. If you can't choose, I'll choose for you. Lin Jingying and the henchmen were anxious, but they didn't know how to persuade them. While they were in a dilemma, they suddenly heard a rush of footsteps outside. Reporting to Grandmaster, Constable Xing has something to tell me. County Magistrate Lin was surprised. It was late at night, and the county constable was a meticulous person. If it was not a big matter, he would not disturb him. But now Her Highness and this person were in a deadlock. After all, he was just a small county magistrate. He was not experienced and did not have the courage and experience. For a moment, he did not know what to say. He turned his head back awkwardly. Just as he was about to speak, he was shocked again. He saw Her Highness and that man looking at him with sun-ran faces. He was so scared that his heart was beating fast. He said weakly, You too. Empress stared at him and said, Why are you looking at me? Didn't the constable have something to tell you? Sun Lang snorted, You're a sissy who dilly-dallying. Can you still be reasonable? Lin Wuying swallowed all the bitter tears back into his stomach and said with a constipated face, Please ask the constable to come in. After a while, a tall man with a knife came in. His body was like a bear, and his face was full of whiskers. With this kind of physique and appearance, he was indeed born to be a constable. He was very intimidating. When he saw that there were people in the room, his wolf-like eyes swept over everyone. He was the first to notice Empress, and his face was full of surprise and greed. Then, his eyes met with General Tensei's. When their eyes met, the constable's eyes were startled. He quickly lowered his head and saluted with his hands folded. I am Huaichuan Constable Xing Guanghong. Greetings, everyone. With Empress's identity, a constable was no different from a weed on the side of the road. Even the henchmen of Tensei province obviously didn't want to pay attention to this guy. Only Sun Lang said with a smile, Oh, you're excused. Nice to meet you. Perhaps it was because he was used to being a tyrant in the county. But for a moment, suppressed anger flashed in the constable's eyes. Finally, County Magistrate Lin remembered that Xing Guanghong was usually diligent and obedient, so he reminded him, These are guests from the capital. Constable Xing, why have you come to see me in the middle of the night? Hearing this, Xing Guanghong restrained some of his anger. He cupped his hands and said, Sir, that monster has killed people again. County Magistrate Lin was shocked when he heard this. He cried out involuntarily, What? People have died again. Xing Guanghong nodded and said, A group of people went into the mountains to search at night and found the bodies. There were 4 in total, and they died very tragically. The bodies were brought back by them. Many people in the martial arts world were alarmed and grieved for the death of the rabbit. Lin Wuying couldn't bear to see this. He shook his head and said, Alas, has the coroner examined the bodies? The constable said, After I heard about this, I took the constables to collect the bodies. Those people had companions. At first, they didn't want to let us take the bodies away, but thanks to your authority, we brought the bodies back. After all, this is a murder case from Huaichuan. No matter what, the county has to have a record. This is what you said. Sun Lang suddenly said, What? That monster likes to kill people. At first, Xing Guanghong saw that among these guests from the capital, Only Sun Lang responded to him. Moreover, only he didn't have the arrogance of someone who had lived in a high position for a long time. Xing Guanghong even thought of him as a small fry. Hearing this, he said indifferently, "Friend, you must be joking. Which monster doesn't like to kill people?" County Magistrate Lin shook his head slightly and said in a low voice, "I'm afraid there is something strange about this. Alas, no matter what, we have to wait for the coroner's autopsy results." Empress suddenly said, "Why wait for the coroner? He is the best coroner. Seeing is believing. Sun Lang, don't you want to take a look?" Sun Lang smiled and said, "Okay, I want to see how tragic the death is." Chapter 588. Now that you mention it, his death was indeed quite tragic. County Magistrate Lin and Arrestor Xing led the crowd to the morgue of the government office. A subtle smell greeted them. Generally speaking, the corpses that had just died today would not become rancid so quickly unless they looked at the 4 corpses neatly placed in the middle of the morgue. They were all covered with white cloth. It was already late at night, and the dim yellow light shone on the 4 deathly white cloth, making people involuntarily feel a chill in their hearts. A coroner had already come here and was preparing for the autopsy. When he saw the crowd, he hurriedly saluted. A coroner was a lowly servant. County Magistrate Lin waved his hand and asked him to step aside. Before he could say anything, Sun Lang had already taken his job. He directly lifted the cloth and revealed the remains of the 4 poor people. Even though Magistrate Lin was a martial scholar and Arrestor Xing had seen it once, he could not help but look away when he saw the corpses. His face turned pale. The death of the same kind would always touch the heartstrings of human beings, let alone this kind of death. The expressions of Sun Lang and Empress did not change at all. Their calm and professional eyes scanned the corpses. They were all famous generals of Tianyuan Empire. They had achieved military exploits through mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Their courage had long been boundless. Sun Lang clicked his tongue and said, "Wow, have I come to Hungyan World?" The 4 corpses in front of him. No, rather than saying 4 corpses, it would be more appropriate to say that they were spread out. The way they died reminded Sun Lang of the Japanese meat grinder in his previous life, the Japanese broken halberd of Fusong, the peak of despair of Showa Men, and the legendary sunset battlefield, Dehengdian. It was said that the number of Japanese who died there every year could circle the earth 8 times. The most typical way of dying was to be directly torn apart by berserker. Even their skulls could be torn in half. Now, the 4 deceased seemed to have suffered the same treatment as the famous dish of Hungyan. Their bodies were torn into pieces. Their arms, thighs, and even their chests and abdomens were like dolls that had been torn apart by a naughty child. It probably took a lot of effort for the person who collected the corpses to piece them back together. The flesh, blood, tissues, and organs of the corpses were mostly exposed to the outside. In addition to the flowing blood and tissues, it was not surprising that there was a strange smell. Empress said coldly, "Anyone who can kill people like this is either a beast or a madman." Sun Lang broke off a small stone stick from the stone mortuary table and examined the corpses. He shook his head and said, "They don't look like wild beasts. There are no signs of being gnawed on. It's just that they were directly torn apart." Constable Xing's eyes flashed. He said in a deep voice that it must be done by a demon. Only a demon would be so cruel and have such strange power. County Magistrate Lin knew that Sun Lang was not to be trifled with. He was afraid that Constable Xing would offend this bad guy, so he hurriedly stopped him and said, "Constable Xing, don't say too much. Young Master Sun has his own plans." What Constable Xing said makes sense. Sun Lang was not angry. He said without turning his head, "The corpses were directly torn apart. These people are all martial artists. Judging from their muscles, bones, skin, and flesh, their martial arts are not weak. However, they were directly torn apart without any resistance. Ordinary wild beasts can't do this. So, the one who did this is either a human with strong martial arts or a powerful demon." Empress also looked for a long time. Her eyes flashed with a dignified color. She said, it doesn't look like it was done by a human. Yes, it really doesn't look like it was done by a human. How much hatred does it have to be to tear people like this? Moreover, these warriors have strong bodies and muscles and bones like iron. Even if it's the dragon claw hand, eagle claw skill, and other fierce finger skills, to do this, it must be a person with extremely profound skills. Sun Lang said faintly, "There are not many people who would have a headache when it comes to this kind of expert." Besides, he used a stone stick to lift up a person's trousers. This person was directly torn in half and barely put together, just like the twins in dark blue. Sun Lang pointed to his tibia near the ankle. There was a purple-red hematoma. This person's legs were grabbed and directly torn in half. This caused two obvious points of stress. Sometimes, the level of the killer's martial arts, the strength of his internal strength, and even the way of his martial arts can be judged from the appearance of the wound and the degree of damage. Because when he exerts his strength, it will leave traces. Empress narrowed her eyes and looked for a moment. She said, "This," Sun Lang laughed. "Don't force yourself to be pretentious. Your martial arts are so weak. When you tell." Empress glared at Sun Lang fiercely. "Will you die if you don't mock me?" Sun Lang turned a blind eye to Empress's murderous gaze. He said lightly, "It's really interesting. The circle of scratches on the left and right tibia indicates a problem. That is, the killer doesn't seem to know martial arts. Because the degree of damage to the wound and the tissues and bone shows that although the killer's strength is great, he doesn't have any signs of controlling his strength or using skills. He completely relied on brute force and speed." Empress said angrily, "So, you think it's also done by some kind of ferocious monster?" Sun Lang waved his hand and said, "Not necessarily. Maybe it's done by a peerless master who is very strong in martial arts but has lost his mind, like Ouyang Feng." Arrestor Xing felt a little strange. "You analyzed it for such a long time, but in the end, your thoughts are actually similar to mine? Then why are you pretending to be pretentious?" Fortunately, the county magistrate had reminded him several times, so he didn't dare to act wildly. He just said calmly, "Since this friend also has a conclusion, then there's no doubt that it's done by that monster. In this case, we can also account to the friends of the deceased." "Wait," Sun Lang said, "even if it's a monster, it depends on which monster it is." Arrestor Xing's expression changed. "What did you say? Which monster can it be?" "Of course, it's the monster that has the Imperial Army and is wandering in the Huichuan Mountains." Sun Lang ignored him and turned to look at County Magistrate Lin. "County Magistrate, there should be survivors who saw the monster's appearance. What does the little monster who picked up the divine weapon look like?" Lin Wuying replied, "There are different versions of this. I think that the more reliable version is that the monster is a little girl. She's very beautiful, about 17 or 18 years old, and has a long braid." Sun Lang asked again, "What's her figure like?" "Figure? Hey, what are you paying attention to?" County Magistrate Lin cursed in his heart, but still answered, "She's well-proportioned, normal. Slim, not tall, nothing special." "Oh, according to your description, it's a Yuchuan Yi." Sun Lang looked at the wounds on the corpse and said calmly, "I thought it was a Sakura goddess." These two strange nouns clearly came from a world that only otakus would know. Everyone was at a loss. Only the Empress concubine vaguely guessed something and said, "Don't keep us in suspense. Quickly say it." "What I mean is, looking at the lacerations and traces of murder on these corpses, if the murderer is really the monster that has the divine weapon, then this female monster should be a hero like Brother Chan. Her whole body is full of muscles. Her knuckles are thick. Her palms are like cattail leaf fans. Her fists are like vinegar bowls. Her arms are big enough to run horses, and her chest is strong enough to break big stones. She's a hero in the world of monsters. She can blow up those *TCHY monsters who only know how to act cute and coquettish with one punch." Sun Lang pointed at a few wounds. "Here, here, and here. You all have eyes. Take a good look at these penetrating wounds and lacerations. Are they left by a slender and normal little girl?" Constable Xing looked at it for a moment and still said, "Perhaps that little girl's appearance is just the demon's disguise to confuse people's minds. Her original human form, is a muscular man. It's not impossible. Sun Lang turned to look at Constable Xing and said with a faint smile, Constable Xing seems to have a deep prejudice against that monster. Constable Xing felt that the other party's eyes were deep and seemed to be able to see through everything. He was shocked, but still said, what else is there to say to a monster? Since the Huichuan incident became a big deal, this monster has killed more and more people. She owes such a debt of blood. Naturally, she should pay with her life. Sun Lang smiled meaningfully and looked at County Magistrate Lin. He said slowly, do you have the same opinion, County Magistrate Lin? Lin Wuying was shocked and lowered his head subconsciously. Sun Lang said calmly, tell me the truth. Tell me what you really think. Of course, if you are confident that you can lie, you can try. After a moment of hesitation, County Magistrate Lin gritted his teeth and said, Your Highness, sir, forgive me for being blunt. I think that the recent murders in the Huichuan Mountains were not the work of the monster with the divine weapon. Hearing this, Constable Xing said involuntarily, Sir, Constable Xing, I have my own brain. Lin Wuying said calmly, As far as I know, many people have run into that monster these days. Some wanted to rob it, and some wanted to deceive it. However, no matter if they were deceiving, stealing, or robbing, they were all exposed by the monster. At most, they were beaten up, taught a lesson, thrown to the side of the road, or hung on a tree. They suffered a little, but they were all saved by someone. Their lives were not harmed. At the same time, there are many murders in the Huichuan Mountains. They were poisoned, killed by swords, killed by traps, and so on. The cause of their deaths has not been fully investigated, but the martial artists in the Huichuan Mountains have come to a broad conclusion that they were killed by a ferocious monster. The county magistrate's expression turned cold. The crowd is indignant and united because there is one more reason to take action, which is to make the monsters who dare to kill humans pay the price. But how did these dead people die? His eyes turned dark. In the cold wind, the night, the dim lights, and the 4 tragic corpses, Magistrate Lin said softly, all kinds of disasters and chaos aroused the hearts of the people. I think that all the victims were killed by someone, whether for money, revenge, jealousy, or malice. The Huichuan Mountains have become a carnival for dark people. In these mountains, it is a place where law and morality cannot enter. No matter what evil you do, there will be monsters to take the blame for you. Even if something goes wrong, is exposed, or is not done cleanly, there will be people to cover for you and cover up the truth. As long as the matter is not blown out of proportion, there will be many people to help you cover up the scandal. They may not even know you, he said faintly. Many, many people. Chapter 589. At night, in the morgue, corpses and lonely lamps, the atmosphere was extremely strange and horrifying. Lin Darren's calm words contained an even more chilling coldness. Constable Xing's voice was a little obscure, but Lord, the way these 4 people died is indeed very different from the previous ones. County Magistrate Lin sighed. This means that an even more terrifying and murderous fellow has come to the Huichuan Mountains. Is this good news? Constable Xing was speechless. At this moment, there was a faint noise outside. Constable Xing frowned. Soon, a yamen runner ran in with a panicked expression. County Magistrate. Constable Xing. Not good. Many Jianghu people are coming here. Constable Xing said angrily. What the hell are they doing now? The yamen runner replied. I'm not very sure. I heard that they are coming for the 4 people who died today. Lin Wuying frowned and snorted. Sun Lang laughed. They're here to make a fuss. County Magistrate Lin, the work is difficult. Before County Magistrate Lin could answer, the sound of the drum in front of the yamen was heard. Well, it was dong 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 dong. Beating the drum in the middle of the night, they probably did not know the taste of the water and fire rod. However, these Jianghu people did not care about the rules. The most important thing was to be in the limelight. Come, County Magistrate Lin, let me teach you a method of our great Qing dynasty. When you go out, regardless of the reason, hit the drum with the plank first. However, there's a problem. The people outside are all bandits who care about face and are loyal to their friends. They have practiced martial arts, and even 30 planks won't break them. We can't let them take advantage of us. Therefore, there is no limit to how many planks you can hit until they shit out of them. He rolled up his sleeves and volunteered himself. If you don't have such a technical troop under your command, I can help. I'm not bragging, but I've beaten people with military rods in the past, and I'm good at it. No matter who the troublemaker is, they'll submit after I hit them. They won't dare to do it a second time. County Magistrate Lin smiled bitterly. You must be joking, sir. When I hear the drum, I have to show up. Your Highness, what do you think? Empress nodded and said, County Magistrate, please. Let's go and see what these Jianghu people are talking about. The County Magistrate sighed and said, Vultures feed on carrion. They must be here to eat corpses. It would be a waste not to join in the fun. Sun Lang and the others followed the county magistrate to the front yard of the yamen. They could faintly hear the noise of the crowd outside. A loud voice was inciting public opinion and loudly said, Everyone, if this goes on, our safety won't be guaranteed. I heard that the brothers who died this time were torn apart by monsters. Think about it. How much strength does it take? County Magistrate Lin's face darkened. He waved his hand and ordered the yamen runner to open the door. Then he gathered his chi and his dantian and shouted, Who's making so much noise here? This voice was imbued with internal strength and spread far away. It was loud and deep, showing an extraordinary internal strength. The noise outside immediately stopped, and the door of the yamen slowly opened. Outside the yamen, the fire was bright. A group of grotesque Jianghu people were holding torches and weapons, standing outside the yamen. At this moment, all of them stopped talking and looked at County Magistrate Lin. After all, the yamen was still quite authoritative. What's more, the county magistrate was a warrior who could fight. Naturally, everyone had to give him face. County Magistrate Lin's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Facing a group of unruly people, he was not afraid at all. He stepped through the yamen door with his head held high and his chest puffed out. He said sternly, Why did you gather here at night to block the yamen? Who beat the Dingwen drum? He looked like he was going to make a punitive expedition. As the saying goes, the county magistrate who destroyed the family and the magistrate who destroyed the family. Bailey Ho's power was not small. But, after all, he was just a county magistrate. In the crowd, the person in the front came forward and saluted. Don't be angry, county magistrate. It was I who beat the Dingwen drum. I'm sorry to disturb you at night. I apologize to you. County Magistrate Lin glanced at the person and said coldly, Hero Wong, how dare I blame you? Hero Wong completely turned a deaf ear to these sarcastic words. He was 8 feet tall and had a dignified appearance. He looked like a benevolent and charitable official. At this time, he smiled and said, Since the county magistrate is so magnanimous, then I will thank you here. I shouldn't have disturbed you tonight, but it's a matter of life and death. I hope that my Jianghu friends will give me face and call me Big Brother. Then I naturally have to consider the lives of my brothers. County Magistrate Lin squinted at him and sneered. Since Hero Wong is so compassionate, why don't you take your brothers and leave this place? County Magistrate Lin, you must be joking. The peerless heavenly weapon is the treasure of the human tribe. It has fallen into the hands of the ferocious demon tribe. As the people of the Empire, we naturally have to fight for it. How can we stay out of it because of the danger of our lives? Swordsman Wong spoke passionately and then sighed. It's a pity that 4 of my good brothers lost their lives today. Alas, after hearing about this matter, I was so anxious that I hurried over. My friends, we had a meal together the day before yesterday. Who knew that they would be gone just like that? The demon clan is so ferocious. It's really infuriating and hateful, he said sincerely. The officials of the county government took the remains of my good brothers away. I don't know when they can get them back. What's the result of the coroner's examination? County Magistrate Lin said coldly, Why? Do I have to report all the murder cases in this county to you, Hero Wong? I wouldn't dare. No matter how County Magistrate Lin ridiculed him, Hero Wong still maintained a kind look. He sighed softly and said, I'm just worried about my dead brothers. It's a pity that they were so young. We are all the people of the empire. In the great rivers and mountains of our empire, we were wantonly slaughtered by the demons. They died so miserably that there were almost no whole bodies left. Alas, what is this? Wang Dajiang. Arrestor Xing shouted behind him. Are you mocking the county magistrate? You rushed into Huaichuan and caused endless disputes and friction. Who was the one who was busy dispatching you? You went to the Huaichuan mountains to seek death. Who was the one who warned you, ordered people to draw a map overnight and set up sentry posts? The county magistrate has done everything he could. You came here and died. How dare you blame the county magistrate for not saving your lives? Arrestor Xing, I didn't mean that. It's just that, think about it. Hero Wang said slowly. If a tiger appeared in the mountains and hurt the passing merchants, with the county magistrate's responsibility, not only should he send people to inform the households to be careful of the tiger and be on guard, but he should also recruit talents to find a way to eradicate the tiger, right? Arrestor Xing was so angry that he laughed and said, You mean that you came here to find the divine sword and were killed by the demon? Not only do you want to blame the county magistrate, but you also want the county magistrate to find a way to eradicate the demon? I wouldn't dare. That demon is ferocious and evil. I know that the power of a county can't deal with it. Hero Wang said, Fortunately, the officials in our court are honest and upright. All the officials in Songzhou are as diligent in official affairs as County Magistrate Lin and make decisions for the people. So, I think that since the county magistrate can't solve this problem, the officials in the major prefectures must have a way, right? He bowed deeply to County Magistrate Lin and said, County Magistrate, if you sit back and do nothing, more and more brothers will be killed. There have been so many murders under your rule. Even if it's pardonable, the evaluation is always unstable. It's better to directly report this problem and ask the peak to send elite troops to solve this problem quickly and decisively. Seize the divine sword and present it to the imperial court. In this way, everyone's lives will be saved and you'll be appreciated by the peak. Isn't this a happy ending for everyone? He said it in an open and above-board manner. It was very reasonable and convincing. Sun Lang listened from behind and muttered to Empress, When the map is unrolled, the dagger is revealed. County Magistrate Lin said that there are at least 3 illegal organizations in Huaichuan County. It seems that Wang Dajiang should be a white glove of a military general. He wants to force Lin Wing to ask the peak to send troops to save him so that his master can take advantage of him. Empress said coldly, Such a shameless lackey. Hey, how can you say that? How is it shameless? This is called working hard and knowing the right timing. He knows how to act appropriately. Sun Lang said with a gratified expression, To be able to have such white gloves, that general must not be someone easy to deal with. What does this mean? It means that Chow Patao taught him well. Soldiers should be like this. When they see something good, they must try their best to get it. If they don't pluck the feathers of the goose when it passes by, they are prodigal. Empress said with disdain, You really can't tell right from wrong. T. In this cold world full of tricks, there is no difference between right and wrong. There are only interests, only close and distant, right and wrong are nothing. Sun Lang said disdainfully, That county magistrate Lin is your henchman. You expect me to speak for him? Forget it. As long as he is your lackey, I will smash his head when I am in a good mood. Before County Magistrate Lin could say anything, a shout came from the street on the right. Wang Dajiang, you are a lackey of General Jingyang and a lackey of the imperial court. You are here to snatch meat for your master again. Sun Lang was refreshed. Wow, it's going to be a cat fight. It's going to be a cat fight. Wang Dajiang was angry in his heart. Damn it, what a good opportunity. He only needed to say a few more words in private to make this stubborn Lin Wuying agree, so that he could gain face in front of the general. He didn't expect that he was one step away from being disrupted. Damn it, the dog's nose was really sharp. Although he was cursing in his heart, he still laughed. I was wondering who it was. It turned out to be Child Liu. It's so late. What are you doing here? Do you have any grievances and want to ask the county magistrate to make a judgment? The street was lit with fire. A young man in a robe and holding a folding fan in his hand was also surrounded by a group of idle people. As he walked, he said with a smile, "Of course I am here to share the burden of the county magistrate, so that he will not be forced into a dilemma by some lackeys. Wang Dajiang. Jianghu is the Jianghu of Jianghu people. Naturally, Jianghu matters should be settled in Jianghu. You are working for your master, but your table manners are so ugly. Aren't you afraid that you will not be able to establish yourself in Jianghu in the future?" Chapter 590. When you finish your performance, I'll come on stage. What a good show. Wang Dajiang had just finished his performance, and another group of monsters immediately came on stage. They came so fast. After listening to Child Liu's words, Sun Lang smiled and said, "It seems that this is the civil party member who represents the interests of Jianghu people and is naturally opposed to Eagle Claw Sunday. He really enjoys human blood." After Wang Dajiang heard young Master Lu's condemnation, although he was angry, he did not panic. No matter what, he stood on a moral high ground. After all, it was a matter of life and death. Even if you wanted to break the sky, could you skip this level? So he snorted and said proudly, "Although I have a good personal relationship with General Jingyang and regard him as my brother, Child Liu, don't talk irresponsibly. Can't I admire heroes and make friends with the heroes of Tianyuan? The so-called lackey is even more venomous. I asked the county magistrate to ask for help from the government for the sake of the public. I can't bear to see my friends in Huichuan County being wantonly killed by monsters. Is there anything wrong with that?" He stared at Child Liu, who was coming, and said with burning eyes, "On the contrary, Child Liu, you said that Jianghu matters are Jianghu matters. Isn't Jianghu the territory of my empire? Isn't it the territory of Hutu? We are all the descendants of Hutu, the subjects of His Majesty. If we are bullied and killed by monsters, can't we ask for help from the government?" Child Liu waved his folding fan and sneered, "What a sharp-tongued hero, Wang. You make shameless selfishness sound so sanctimonious. If you're worried about your brothers getting hurt and dying, why don't you persuade them to leave quickly and not get involved in this mess? Instead, you deliberately send your good brothers to die and then take the opportunity to attack the county magistrate. You are stepping on the bodies of your brothers to pave the way for your own glory and wealth. That's not very particular." These words were quite harsh. Wang Dajiang's face turned green, and he said coldly, "Child Liu, why are you talking like farts?" His lips moved up and down, and he sentenced Wang Mao to a crime. "You said that I took advantage of my brothers. Are you innocent? You, young Master Lu, are the leader of a group of people. Aren't you counting on them to pave the way for you? They put themselves in danger and risked being slaughtered by demons to search for the divine sword. But this divine weapon that has never appeared in this world, a sharp weapon that is hard to find in the world. Who will get it in the end?" He raised his voice, and his loud and clear voice spread far and wide. "I can swear to the heavens that if I covet that divine weapon, I will die under the sword in the blink of an eye. Young Master Lu, do you dare to swear this oath?" When Sun Lang heard this, he subconsciously clenched his fists and muttered, "Every time I hear this kind of oath, I want to immediately create a big news story." Empress quietly took a long sword from one of his henchmen and handed it to Sun Lang. He said, "Stab him. Your martial arts are high. No one will be able to tell that it was you who did it." Sun Lang thought for a moment, took the sword, and looked at it. He nodded and said, "Okay." Then he raised his hand, and the unsheathed sword instantly disappeared into the night sky. It was as fast as lightning, but it was silent. Other than the Emperor's concubine and a few henchmen beside him, no one else saw his movements. Empress was slightly stunned. He didn't know what Sun Lang was doing. But a moment later, a sharp sword sound came from afar. In an instant, it came from afar. A strong wind blew, and an arc of light swept across the sky. The long sword was like a crescent moon that tore through the darkness. In an instant, it was nailed to young Master Lu's feet. It looked like it was shot from Wang Dajiang's direction. Master Lu had just been reprimanded by Master Wang. Just as he was about to retort, he suddenly felt a sharp gust of wind coming at him. He had no time to think about it, and suddenly jumped back. As soon as his front foot left the place, the sword stabbed into his back foot. It seemed that if young Master Lu was a little late, he would have been nailed into a well-dressed human specimen. The name of the work could be called Why Are You So Awesome? Young Master Lu, who jumped back, was protected by a few friends behind him. He saw the long sword that was as fast as lightning. At the moment, it was inserted a few inches into the floor tiles. It was still shaking, as if the sword was also regretting that the stab didn't work. He circled around the gates of hell. His whole body was covered in cold sweat. The Jianghu fellows behind him also reacted. They were shocked and angry. Each of them picked up their swords, spears, swords, and halberds, and a series of curses were spewed. F***ck your grandmother, Wang Dajiang. How dare you suddenly use such a vicious move? How shameless. This eagle-claw grandson, he was in the wrong, so he plotted against Brother Wang. How despicable. Although they didn't know what was going on, the people on Wang Dajiang's side didn't want to show weakness. They immediately picked up their swords and spears. The situation was on the verge of breaking out. Among the people present, the only ones who knew the inside story were the few people around Sun Lang. They all stared at Sun Lang with inexplicable and subtle expressions. What kind of expression was that? It was probably the expression that wanted to be Detective Conan, but didn't dare to. Empress didn't expect that Sun Lang would do such a thing. God had pity on her. At that time, she just handed over the sword to him to make fun of him. She never thought that Sun Lang would frame Wang Dajiang secretly. She shouted in a low voice, "What the hell are you doing? You were just praising him. What do you want to do?" Based on her familiarity with Sun Lang, she naturally knew that Sun Lang just showed mercy. If he really wanted to kill someone, not to mention young Master Lu, the people behind him would be skewered into mutton skewers. How could they have the time to react? Sun Lang showed her a kind and gentle smile. Seeing this smile, Empress's heart immediately skipped a beat. Her intuition told her that Sun Lang must have done something bad again. But what was it? At this moment, Wang Dajiang, who had taken the blame for no reason, saw that the situation was not right. He raised his arm and shouted, "Brothers, stop. We are honorable men. We never do things like stab people in the back. Young Master Lu, although we have different principles, don't fight over this inexplicable reason. Not only will there be casualties, but we will also be laughed at by the people in Jianghu." Young Master Lu was also a sensible person. Although he was still scared, and was even more resentful towards the thieves who had secretly hurt people, he also knew that fighting at this time would only bring harm and no benefit. Thus, he also shouted, "Brothers, strengthen your defenses. Don't be impulsive. It may not be Master Wang's people who did it. Now, that Huichuan is full of crouching tigers and crouching tigers. There must not be any masters who want to fish in troubled waters." The two men were very prestigious. Although the men on both sides were vigilant, they no longer scolded each other. Seeing this, Empress sneered and said, "It's useless. Do you want to throw out another sword?" Sun Lang smiled and said, "Who said it's useless? One sword is very useful." Both sides calmed down. Young Master Lu's face was as calm as water. He pulled out the sword from the ground and wanted to see what was going on. Then, his face changed drastically. Wang Dajiang, who was walking over, also noticed young Master Lu's strange behavior. He stopped and asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" Young Master Lu's face was pale. He said with difficulty, "Tian, Tensei Province." On the hilt of the sword, there were two large words carved with the ancient seal of the dragon, indicating the ownership of the sword and the identity of the sword's owner. Tensei. F***ck. Empress suddenly turned around and looked at Sun Lang in shock and anger. Damn it. No wonder this guy looked at the sword first before taking it. How dare he do this? Son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch. Sun Lang spread his hands innocently and said, "I thought you already knew." Empress said angrily, "How the F***ck would I know about this?" Sun Lang curled his lips and said, "Then why did you ask me to throw the sword and stab Wang Dajiang? Are you retarded? Who the F***ck would have thought that you would really throw it?" You did it when I said it. Did you eat sh*t when I asked you to? Empress was tongue-tied and couldn't help but turn around and glare at the Tensei henchmen. Those poor kids had already shrunk back like quails. Are you blaming us for carrying Tensei Province's standard weapons? It's not like we're carrying out a secret mission that requires us to hide our identities. Young Master Lu took 2 steps back in shock. He pointed at Wang Dajiang with trembling fingers and said, You actually joined Tensei Province? Siding with the Heavenly Policy residents and being General Jing Yang's lackey were 2 different things. The latter was at least making a living in the Song Prefecture, but the former was not right. Everyone knew that General Zhao of the Song Prefecture was not on good terms with the Heavenly Policy princess. If you were a traitor, weren't you afraid of being skinned alive by General Jingyang? Moreover, Songzhou belonged to the people of Songzhou. Young Master Lu, who had a strong sense of region, had already started cursing. F***ck, your ancestors. You actually went to cling to Tensei Province's thigh. How shameless. Poor Wang Dajiang. Standing in front of the county yamen tonight, he was blamed one after another, and each was worse than the last. He said loudly, I'm not. He was one of his own and knew his own situation. Just as he was about to defend himself, he suddenly thought of something very scary. He stepped forward and snatched the sword from young Master Lu's hands. He stared at the emblem on the sword hilt. The 2 words Tensei were like the coldest ice, directly branded in his heart, making his heart feel cold. Hero Wang looked at young Master Lu and said with difficulty, That means Tensei Province has already entered the scene? Young Master Lu's heart also turned cold. He forced a smile and said, You really aren't? Wang Dajiang shouted, I'm really not. My whole family is in Jingyang. Why would I do such a thing? General Nia will skin me alive if he doesn't. Under the cold moon and chilly wind, the 2 looked at each other. That was Tensei Province, which held military power and was respected by the emperor. It was famous all over the world and had produced heroes. Its owner was the emperor's favorite daughter, who was likely to become the ruler of the world in the future. Was such a huge figure also interested in the celestial sword? No, it was only natural. Why wouldn't such a huge figure be interested in the celestial sword? For a time, both of them were frightened and disheartened. If it was the Heavenly Policy Mansion, who would be able to compete with them? Magistrate Lin had rushed out in an imposing manner tonight. He was already prepared, but he didn't expect to see such a good show. After hearing young Master Lu shout out, Tensei Province, he subconsciously looked back. The few people from the Heavenly Policy Manor lowered their heads submissively. Her Highness the Empress concubine had a gloomy expression, while that Mr. Sunlang looked at the moon innocently and murmured, Ah, I raise my cup to invite the bright moon, and the shadow becomes 3 people. Yeah, what a good poem. As a follower of Tensei Province, he couldn't screw up here, so he took advantage of the chaos and said loudly, It seems that the 2 of you are no longer in the mood. Let's leave for tonight. It's already late. As for the matter of the monster hurting people, let's deal with it tomorrow. How about it? Wang Dajiang and young Master Lu were so confused that they couldn't care about anything else. They nodded blankly, called out to their companions, and left without saying a word. After they all left, Magistrate Lin changed his calm expression and hurriedly turned around. Your Highness, what should we do? Empress said angrily. How would I know? This bastard acted on his own. Hey, Sun Lang. She turned around, but there was no one beside her. Sun Lang was nowhere to be seen. Damn it, where is he? Chapter 591. Where's this guy? Just now he was still fighting Ying Chung and the other 2, but in the blink of an eye, he was nowhere to be seen. Empress looked around blankly, and her eyes expressed a question. Where is such a big Sun Lang? The lackeys of Tensei Province, who were questioned by her eyes, lowered their heads in shame, and they didn't see him either. Empress took a deep breath and said angrily, A bunch of good-for-nothings. You can't even keep an eye on one person. She was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She really couldn't relax for a moment. In the blink of an eye, Sun Lang could change the situation suddenly. His dazzling operation was simply impossible to turn around. On the other side, County Magistrate Lin was also confused. He didn't know that it was Sun Lang who had just made a move. Your Highness, what's going on? General Tensei gritted his teeth and said, What's going on? Of course, it's Sun Lang. He looks down on our Tensei province and wants to do it alone. In the end, he wants to use our tiger skin as a flag. She could completely guess Sun Lang's plan. This was his usual style of doing things. He used other people's power to his advantage and fished in troubled waters. When he saw that Tensei province couldn't provide him with enough manpower and material resources, he kicked the Tensei province aside without saying a word. He didn't forget to squeeze the last bit of value out of them, just like what happened just now. He beat them at their own game. He used the sword to scare Mr. Liu, and then made Mr. Wang and Mr. Liu lose their minds. This was to set up a strong common enemy for them, so that Sun Lang could stir up trouble. This bastard. The Emperor's concubine gritted her teeth and said, If we let him do as he pleases, the heavenly policy manor will have to take the blame for countless times. This bastard won't have any psychological burden when he scams me. She frowned and muttered to herself, No, I can't let him do whatever he wants. I have to think of a way, Your Highness. A henchman from Tensei province mustered up his courage and said weakly, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it. Empress looked at him indifferently. Speak. I think, Your Highness must have been forced here by that Sun Lang. He said softly, Now that the other party has disappeared, why didn't Your Highness take the opportunity to leave? She blinked her eyes and suddenly reacted. That's right, I was obviously kidnapped by that bastard. He ran away, so I should have thought of running away first. The Emperor's concubine revealed a sinister smile. That's right, Sun Lang. You were so pleased with yourself that you forgot about this, right? I wonder what kind of expression you'll have when you return triumphantly and find that I'm gone. Hee. You're so eager to find the demon sword and the holy sword that you have no choice but to stay here. I will return to Ming province at night, and without a second word, I will file a complaint against you. I will say that you have taken a fancy to the demon sword owner of the K-to demon sword again. Thinking of Sun Lang's stupid appearance when he ran away that night, she laughed even more proudly. Wait, no, Sun Lang isn't that stupid. He must have made thorough preparations and can't act rashly. This might be a trap. It'll be best if I can run away. If he catches up and catches me again, it'll be too embarrassing. With this bastard's character, I don't know what tricks he has in store for me. Besides, there's no one here. No matter what he does, I don't know how much trouble he can cause. This bastard clearly thinks that Tensei province is a sucker and wants to trick me. As soon as I leave, I'm afraid that he'll use all the stock and insurance pyramid schemes he usually talks about. He'll definitely use the Tensei province's banner to support me. No, I can't act rashly. Besides, there's no point in running away now. Right now, the Imperial Envoy is still in Mingzhou. To the outside world, the negotiations are still ongoing. Other than going to Mingzhou, I have nowhere else to go. After Sun Lang finds the demon sword and gets the holy sword, he can easily return to Mingzhou. At that time, I still have to see that stupid face. Yes, I can't act rashly in case his evil plan succeeds. However, even though she thought this in her heart, she couldn't say it out loud. General Tensei looked at the lackey who offered advice and said in a gentle voice, Your intentions are praiseworthy, but you must consider the problem thoroughly. If I leave, no one will be able to control Sun Lang. With his intelligence and methods, Tensei province's reputation will probably be ruined. I control Tensei province. How can I allow this to happen? Of course, I'll stay and fight a battle of wits and courage with him. These words were spoken very passionately, so much so that the lackeys didn't hear anything wrong. They nodded their heads to express their admiration. We are willing to pledge our lives to follow your highness. Although he didn't know what had happened, County Magistrate Lin still expressed his loyalty to show that he would listen to orders at any time. Your Highness, is there anything you need me to do? Empress said coldly. Of course, it's to mess up this matter. Whatever you want to do, I'll be one step ahead of you. County Magistrate Lin immediately sent someone to invite. She stopped halfway and exhaled. Forget it. This bastard must have gone to find that Sir Liu first because he knows that we can't get Wang Dajiang to defect. Wang Dajiang was General Jing Yang's dog, and General Jing Yang was Zhao Yunlong's subordinate. Zhao Yunlong listened to Sun Lang's every word. The result of this obedience chain was that with one word from Sun Lang, General Jing Yang would piss his pants in terror and tear Wang Dajiang into 9 pieces. Empress was extremely irritated. Now that she didn't have an army or a large number of capable people by her side, she was restricted in everything she did. After all, she wasn't Sun Lang. Most of her power and prestige came from her identity and power. Her identity as General of Tensei and Imperial Empress brought her noble status and the loyalty of many capable people. However, this meant that she had to rely on these elite subordinates to fully display the power of General Tensei. Just like now, she could only mobilize a dozen people at most to get in touch with the current troublemakers in Huaichuan. It was already difficult to convince them of her identity, let alone promise anything. Unlike Sun Lang, who only needed one person to do it, because he could easily grab anyone in Huaichuan by the head and press them on the table. At that time, even if he said that he was the Jade Emperor, that person would have to nod and say yes. One person. She suddenly fell silent, followed by an uncontrollable sense of loss. Would that method really work? But at least now was not the time to give up. She turned and walked into the county yamen. I need to go back and think about it. Where's my room? The henchman quickly followed. When we heard that your highness was coming, we quickly bought clean bedding and prepared everything. If your highness needs anything, just let us know. While her highness empress was sitting in her room, Master Liu was hurrying back with his men. He held the long sword from Tensei province in his hand. His expression was solemn, his footsteps were hurried, and his eyes were blank. In any case, the name Tensei province was almost a legend to ordinary people in the martial arts world. He could challenge Wang Dajiang without any scruples because his supporters also had a very strong background. They were not afraid of Wang Dajiang's Jingyang general's household. But if it was Tensei province, he was not stupid. When such a huge monster moved, it meant that an even more intense game and involvement was involved. It was a showdown in the court. If the city gate was on fire, the fish in the moat would be affected. Master Liu sighed. How should he talk about this matter? At best, he was just a representative who showed his face in public. It was just that his status was slightly higher. The matter of the divine sword involved a lot of people. It was unknown how many people were tempted by it. Just like this time, it was unknown how many people were watching in the dark. After these various forces heard that the Heavenly Policy Mansion had entered the fray, how would they react and how to deal with it? The night in Huaichuan was very cold. Because it was close to the mountains, the temperature dropped quickly. The night was bone-chilling. Even with young Master Liu's internal energy, he could still feel the chill. His internal energy circulated, and his body gradually warmed up. But then he smiled bitterly because he thought of the sword that was as fast as lightning. If he had not dodged quickly, young Master Liu would have become a young master. And the person who threw the sword might be hiding in the dark, looking at him indifferently. If he could attack once, he could attack a second time. Thinking of this, Master Liu's bitter smile became more intense. What was going on? He walked back to his residence as he was on high alert. Now that the number of foreigners in Huaichuan had skyrocketed, the few inns were already crowded. Fortunately, they were rich and overbearing. They bought a house and gave them a lot of money. They invited them to live in the nearby state capital and said that they could come back after the godly sword was done. The house would still be theirs. Master Liu and his group returned to their residence unscathed. There was a group of people waiting there. They were all messengers from the various forces in this loose organization, waiting for the news. Originally, a major event like the Heavenly Strategies invasion should have been announced in a secret meeting. However, he had just let it slip, so it didn't matter if it was kept a secret or not. After telling this shocking news to these messengers, he sent them away and asked his subordinates to rest. They lived nearby so that it would be easier to take care of each other. After doing all this, Master Liu took a deep breath and closed the door. His heart suddenly beat wildly. He whispered, "Friend, please come out. We can talk." As soon as he finished speaking, a hand reached out from behind and pressed on the back of his head, slamming it against the door. "Damn it, you're quite scheming. How dare you trick me into coming out?" He actually came out. He actually knew that I was tricking him. He actually came out on his own. When the other party's hand was pressed against the back of his head, Master Liu had already realized that the other party's martial arts were far beyond his imagination. If such a person wanted to kill him, he would never give him a chance to dodge successfully. So he whispered, "Senior, this junior is not talented, but I'm willing to follow your orders." Chapter 592. As the saying goes, walking the pugilistic world has its risks. Cowardice is the most important thing. After all, the pugilistic world was different from a game. Even though victory and defeat were commonplace, but if a hero died, he could not start over again. Hence, young Master Liu immediately cowered. After all, the other party's hand had been placed on the back of his head. With just a little bit of inner strength, young Master Liu would become a young master again. The person behind him laughed. "You're really used to changing the rudder according to the wind. The pugilistic world is actually the same as the world. Only shameless people can live longer, right?" Since young Master Liu was able to make a name for himself, he naturally had some self-awareness. He nodded his head like a chick pecking at rice. Yes, you're right. This junior naturally wants to live a long life." That person sighed again. "You're a smart person. With your little life in my hands, there's naturally no reason for you to not surrender. But you must be thinking in your heart to deal with me first to preserve your little life, then plan for your future." Young Master Liu laughed dryly. "Your martial arts are so high, you can easily take my life." How would this junior dare to have any second thoughts? That's right. That person seemed to agree with this statement. The hand that was pressing on the back of his head moved to the top of young Master Liu's head. "Young Master Liu, right? Look, I only need to press down, and your head will sink into your chest. Then you can change your name, and I can call you young master. Then you'll naturally die, and your wife will become a widow. If your wife can't stand the loneliness and goes to cheat, your head will be cuckolded, and you'll become young Master Fennel, as in fennel beans." That's right. Just like how music is split into 3 types of singing, the word fennel also has 4 types of writing. Do you know which are the 4 types? How did this topic jump to this point? What does this have to do with me? Although he was complaining loudly in his heart, young Master Liu could only say in shame and fear, "This junior's talent is shallow. I really don't know. Actually, I don't really know either. After all, I don't need to keep accounts." The person said again, "Were we just now?" "All right, about your wife cuckolding you, I say, young Master Jew." For the sake of the hand on his head, young Master Liu wisely remained silent. However, he soon lost his composure. "I heard that you're from Shangzhou, and your family is famous for its poetry and swordsmanship. Your parents are the local gentry, and they have connections in both the government and the underworld. Thanks to your parents, you're a promising young man. You're married, and you have a 3-year-old son. You even have 2 concubines." Son of a bitch. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a reflex. That person slowly talked about these things that everyone knew. Then, he blushed and said, "The time was very short, so I only asked this. But it doesn't matter. As long as your father is an official, that's enough. Don't you think so?" It was said that people in Jianghu had no choice but to do what they wanted. I think that's probably it. Even if you don't think for yourself, you have to think for your family. Young Master Liu was already sweating profusely. His body was trembling, and he could not say anything. That person had already let go of his hand and laughed. "Since you've said so much, I think it's enough." That Wang de Jiang said it well. Indeed, under the heavens, everything belongs to the emperor. No matter what kind of scholar you are, no matter what kind of hero you are, you still have to walk on the empress's land. In this country, who do we have to listen to? Of course we have to listen to the emperor. No matter how great a hero you are, can you be greater than the emperor? Such politically correct words were naturally very reasonable. Young Master Lu nodded his head. His entire body was still trembling. Then he heard that person continue. But other than the emperor in the entire empire, who has the final say? Of course, it's our Tensei province. There's a good saying, Her Highness the Emperor's concubine is like the sun at 8 or 9 in the morning. This country belongs to His Majesty the Emperor and also to Her Highness the Empress concubine. But ultimately, it belongs to Her Highness the Empress concubine. Young Master Lu had not yet recovered from the fact that his family was threatened, which made him shocked and angry. He immediately heard these words that made his soul fly out of his body. Wow, the people of Tensei province really dare to say that. Was the heavenly strategies Empress concubine really determined to obtain the throne? They were so arrogant. He said in a trembling voice, Senior, you can't say that casually. It's okay. Anyway, you don't have the guts to say it, and no one will believe it. Am I right? That person said with a smile. What's more, even if His Majesty doesn't believe it, His Highness Empress will definitely kill your whole family. Even your 3-year-old son won't be able to escape. Tell me why bother? Of all the people you could provoke, you chose to provoke our Tensei province. In young Master Lu's entire life, this was the first time he had been threatened so straightforwardly by someone without any care or concealment. This arrogant and despotic attitude made him feel a chill in his heart. This kind of attitude of treating him like an ant made him feel great shame. His reputation, martial arts, family background, and connections were all ignored by the other party. Even his dignity was trampled into the mud and wantonly trampled on. He suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a low voice, Yes, Senior, you're right. That person nodded and said, You must be unconvinced, but who's to blame? Why did you go to the county yamen tonight? Why did you come to Huaichuan? What kind of thoughts do you have for the divine sword? You know very well in your heart. Those Jianghu, people who dream of soaring to the heavens, come to Huaichuan to work hard for the future. In your eyes, they are just stupid chess pieces that are at your mercy. Their deaths are valuable to you. Just like tonight, did you come to stop Wang Dajiang, to uphold the rules of Jianghu, or to prevent the officials from getting their hands on the divine sword? He said with a smile, So, you small fish eat shrimps, while the big fish of Tensei province will naturally eat small fish like you. Young Master Lu was silent for a moment and said with a bitter smile, So, Senior, what do you want to teach me? Tensei province entered the scene to tell us small fries to retreat quickly. The senior from Tensei province suddenly patted him on the shoulder and laughed. Young Master Lu, Lu, I see that you're a promising person. Would you like to join our revolutionary team? Working for the Heavenly Policy Mansion is better than working as a representative or spokesperson here. Aren't you working for those big shots after all this work? Anyway, you're just working for us. Why don't you follow us? Young Master Lu was very clever. He immediately understood the meaning of these words, but he thought of the words, the sun at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, just now, and felt weak in his heart. With such arrogance, could His Highness Empress really sit on the supreme throne as he wished? However, the current situation soon reminded him that he had no choice. Young Master Lu hesitated for a moment and sighed. I'm willing to work for you. That's right, Lu. You have to do well and perform well. Do you know that His Highness Empress is already paying attention to the matter in Huaichuan? That is to say, she may know your every move. If you perform well and bring glory to our Tensei province, she'll be happy to see it and reward you with a future. Wouldn't you be happy? The man finally let go of him and said with a smile, In that case, from today onwards, we're on the same side. I'll go back and recommend you to His Highness Empress. First, I'll get you an official position. Young Master Lu heaved a sigh of relief. He still had his back to the man behind him. A strange light flashed in his eyes as he said in a low voice, Thank you, Senior. May I ask, is there anything I can do for you? He thought for a moment and added, If you want to persuade those big shots to stop and not compete with Tensei province, I'm afraid it'll be difficult. They have a strong background and have invested a lot in Huaichuan. It can be said that they're determined to get the heavenly weapon and won't give it up easily. Even if there's pressure from Tensei Province, I'm afraid they won't back down easily, the senior from Tensei Province said. It's okay. It's good that they don't back down. It'll be a good opportunity to fight with the Songzhou government. A light flashed in young Master Lu's mind. That's right, Tensei Province can't hide the truth with one hand. They must have a conflict of interest with the Songzhou government. After all, there's only one heavenly weapon. Do you understand? Today, you'll tell the big bosses behind you about the Tensei Province's entry. Soon, they'll summon you to discuss countermeasures. When the time comes, you'll tell them this. The two of them discussed for a long time. Young Master Lu was confused at first, then he became thoughtful, and then he came to a sudden realization. After listening, he nodded repeatedly. Brilliant, senior, brilliant, the man said. This is nothing. The main thing is to rely on the wise leadership and great instructions of His Highness Empress. There's nothing wrong with working hard. When the time comes, we might even be able to become heroes and bring honor to our ancestors. All right, it's getting late. I still have to write a letter to His Highness Empress to report on my work. I'll come to you if there's anything. Lu, you're a smart person. You should know what to do and what not to do. This understatement made young Master Lu's whole body tense again. He stuttered to express his loyalty. After a long pause, he didn't get any response. At this time, he carefully turned his head. In the whole room, there was no trace of that person. He took a deep breath and found that he was sweating all over. After wiping the sweat on his forehead, young Master Lu heaved a sigh of relief. His eyes flashed with an inexplicable light. That person, is he really from Tensei Province? What's his plan? Should I? He hesitated for a moment and shook his head. No matter who that person was, his martial arts were too high for him to resist. Therefore, it was better not to act rashly. While young Master Lu was troubled and confused, the other protagonist in front of the county government office, Wang Dajiang, was also thinking in his own room. His mind was in a mess. He hesitated for a moment and took out a pen and paper. He planned to write a letter to General Jingyang. Suddenly, he heard the sound of the door opening. Master Wang grasped the handle of the knife beside him and said vigilantly, "Who is it?" A young man wearing a Western trench coat walked in with a smile. He didn't have the consciousness of an uninvited guest at all. Wang Dajiang looked at the young man in front of him, and his eyes narrowed. He had arranged a lot of good men to patrol outside, but this person came in without making a sound. And looking at him, Master Wang slowly stood up and said in a deep voice, "Friend, are you from Tensei Province?" "No." The young man sat down and showed a gentle smile. "On the contrary, let me introduce myself. I'm the political commissar of General Zhao Yunlong of Songzhou. Oh, I mean the aide. My name is Li Gang." Chapter 593. Wang Dajiang had encountered a lot of things tonight. Originally, when he heard that 4 Jianghu people had been attacked by demons in the Huichuan Mountains and their bodies were torn to pieces, he wanted to take this opportunity to make a fuss and force the stubborn Huichuan county magistrate to admit defeat. After all, there were more and more murder cases under his jurisdiction, which was greatly detrimental to the county magistrate's promotion evaluation. Even if he was stubborn now, he would not be able to hold on sooner or later. Even if he could hold on this time, there would be a next time. Because, putting aside the demon who had hurt people, Huichuan was now becoming more and more chaotic. After all, with the demons here to help take the blame, everyone could naturally settle their grudges as they pleased. In the Huichuan Mountains, where there was no one, they could settle their grudges and settle their grudges. Wang Dajiang knew what the Jianghu was. The Jianghu was hypocrisy, while the Jianghu was patience. Heroes always had such concerns, such as morality, reputation, relatives and friends, and revenge. Therefore, they could not settle their grudges as they pleased and would always have more scruples. Therefore, the so-called devil sect and evil sect people were worshipped and yearned for by those naive young people, because they could do whatever they wanted. That was because there were some things that righteous people could not do openly. But it was different this time. Huichuan was a good place, and no matter what happened, it was the demons who did it. Therefore, Wang Dajiang could conclude that it would not take long for everyone to have a greater tacit understanding and understand that they could do more things in these mountains. But no matter what happened, it was all the demons who did it. There was no doubt that demons could use traps, hidden weapons, and were proficient in all kinds of martial arts. Demons could plunder treasures. Demons were cruel in their methods. Demons were violent in their temperament. Demons would even rape to vent their desires. Therefore, more and more cases would be committed by demons, and the burden on County Magistrate Lin's shoulders would become heavier and heavier. When the time came, as long as people were tempted to make trouble a few more times, he would not be able to hold on and would be forced to ask for help from his superior. And Wang Dajiang's task was to facilitate all of this as soon as possible and let the heavy responsibility of pacifying the chaos in Huichuan and wiping out demons and ghosts fall on General Jingyang. Yes, he was a good friend of General Jingyang and also relied on the power of his elder brother to become a famous Jianghu hero in Jingyang. He was a well-known figure in the martial arts world of Song Province, so he had to repay his elder brother, and the divine weapon must be obtained by his elder brother. This was his task and purpose. The plan was originally carried out smoothly. He felt that everything was under his control because he stood on the high point of justice and morality. Everything in the world was nothing more important than human lives. With so many people dying Huichuan every day, shouldn't he ask the government for help and help and help and help? As long as one waved the banner of morality and justice, there was nothing that could not be done. This was his experience. However, just when he thought that everything was going smoothly, a flying sword pierced through the air and disrupted all of his plans and rhythm. The long sword engraved with the two words Tensei seemed to announce the arrival of a huge monster. Tensei Province was a legendary name that he once thought was very far away from him. Compared to Tensei Province, General Jingyang's mansion, which was powerful in Jingyang County, was nothing at all. His mind was in a mess, and he knew that everything was out of his control. Even if it was just a long sword engraved with the two words Tensei, even if the people of Tensei Province did not show up, even if this could be a bluff and a frame-up, he did not dare to take the risk, and he could not bear this responsibility. Therefore, he wanted to write a letter and deliver it to General Jingyang overnight, asking for his opinion. However, at this time, a young man passed through the tight blockade without alerting any of the patrolling guards. He directly pushed open the door and sat in front of him with an unfathomable expression. He called himself Li Gang and said that he was the aide of General Zhao Yunlong of Song Province. Wang Dajiang looked at the seemingly unfathomable young man in front of him. His hand was still on the hilt of his sword, and he did not let down his guard in the slightest. He said, "So, it's Lord Li from Song Province. Forgive me for my rudeness. Your Excellency claims to be General Zhao's aide. Do you have proof?" The young man was stunned for a moment, and then nodded. "I do have this." "What do you mean you do have this? Really? Could it be that there is something fake?" Wang Dajiang cursed in his heart. He saw the young man lift up his Western-style white wind robe and reach out with his hand to dig around a few times. He did not know where he got a lot of things. He threw the things in his hand on the table, and with a crash, some things fell on the table. There were gold leaves, a few pieces of jewelry, and some unknown keys. There were also some conical bullets. There were also 2 or 3 tokens. He smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry. I'm popular, so I have a lot of tokens." As he spoke, he discreetly put away Qi Guanyan's Tiger Army seal and the heavenly policy token that he obtained from the Emperor's concubine. The former was fine, but if the latter was seen by Wang Dajiang, he would be King embarrassed. Then he handed over the token that Chao Patao gave him. "This is the token that the general gave me." In view of the fact that this guy had taken out 2 or 3 tokens earlier, although Wang Dajiang did not see clearly what they were, this person's behavior still seemed very suspicious. He was simply like a very professional swindler, the kind that always had many tokens on him, the kind that would speak human language to people and ghosts. He took the token with a cold light and engraved with the pattern of 9 dragons. He looked at it carefully and could not help but be shocked. Damn it, it was real. As General Jingyang's right-hand man, Wang Dajiang was trusted by General Jingyang. He had taken General Jingyang's token to do things more than once. When they were drinking, General Jingyang had told him about some tricks of this token. After all, military affairs were related to the survival of the country. There were many capable people in the world, and there was also a war with the Sky Demon. The confidentiality and verification of military tokens were of the utmost importance. Using the token as an example, in order to prevent criminals from forging it, all the high-ranking military officials in the Imperial Court had their tokens issued by the Imperial Court. The materials and techniques used to make the tokens were the same as the ones used to make the Imperial Army. It was impossible for civilians to copy them. He checked the token according to General Jing Yang's instructions and could not help but gasp. He immediately stood up and said respectfully, "Greetings, Lord Li." Lord Li Gang seemed to be a little distressed. Thinking about it carefully, this name doesn't sound too good. It gives off a feeling of being suppressed by 2 rules. How about I change my name to Chu Gang? What do you think? Wang Dajiang's expression was strange. He did not know how to respond. In any case, you just need to know that this token is real. This person was naturally Sun Lang. He had just gone to young Master Lu's place to do some small work, and then rushed here to lie. Actually, it was not a lie. After all, he was holding Chao Patao's token. Even if someone went to Chao Patao to verify it, she would definitely nod her head vigorously. Wang Dajiang felt strange, but on the surface, he nodded repeatedly. Yes, yes. He thought about the embarrassing situation in Huaichuan and felt a chill in his heart. This Li Gang really came at the right time. Could it be? Hero Wang asked tentatively. Lord Li, may I know why you have come to my humble abode? Sun Lang smiled. I don't dare to say that I have advice. I'm here because of what just happened. Wang Dajiang's expression changed. He whispered, Tensei Province? Yes. Sun Lang nodded solemnly. Damn it, those bastards have stretched their claws too far. Where's this place? This is Huaichuan, the territory of Songzhou. Whatever is dug out of the ground belongs to Songzhou. What right does Tensei Province have to stretch their claws? Was that divine sword forged in Tensei Province? What right do they have to snatch it? Don't you think so? Wang Dajiang was also a sophisticated person in society, and his chatting skills were relatively good. When he heard this, he immediately followed up. Yes, I think so too. That Tensei Province is too overbearing. After he finished speaking, he was stunned and asked with some uncertainty, Did you really come from Tensei Province? After all, I only saw a sword just now. That doesn't mean anything. Sun Lang sighed and said, Yes, it's absolutely true. Otherwise, why would I come here? It's because General Zhao Yunlong noticed some clues. You know that General Zhao doesn't get along well with Tensei Province. Usually, they're like fire and water. How could he let them run wild in Songzhou? Wang Dajiang had vaguely heard General Jing Yang mention this before. He said that for some unspeakable reasons, General Zhao didn't get along well with Tensei Province and even the Imperial Court. However, General Zhao was very popular. In the Imperial Court, there were many old friends who helped him, and Songzhou was still prosperous. He whispered, I've heard of this rumor. Sun Lang revealed an extremely gossipy expression and said mysteriously, Do you know why? Because during the Tianyuan War, Empress Tensei fought over a man with General Zhao. Wang Dajiang was shocked when he heard this. Oh, there's such a thing. Gossip was human nature. Hero Wang's spirit was lifted, and he whispered, What was the result? The result, of course, was that he didn't succeed. Sun Lang snorted and laughed. General Zhao's lover was loyal and upright. He didn't care about power and influence. He turned a blind eye to Empress Tensei's crazy confession of love. He was open-minded and had a noble character. He controlled himself from the beginning to the end. He was as steady as the setting sun and successfully protected his chastity. He didn't give Empress any chance to succeed. Wang Dajiang smacked his lips and suddenly praised. This person is really a good man. He's really worthy of General Zhao. Sun Lang looked very happy and echoed, right? A good man like him is hard to find in the world nowadays. However, this cruel world gave him more tests, making it difficult for him to live happily with the people he loved. Indeed, the road to happiness is strewn with setbacks. Sun Lang sighed in his heart about the bumpy road of his love life and said, but after all, he didn't succeed. Think about it. Empress must be very angry, and this grudge is formed. Hero Wang nodded and said, yes, this matter is indeed difficult to solve. So, this is the reason why I'm here this time. After all, General Zhao can't directly clash with the Heavenly Policy Mansion, so she ordered me to mess up this matter. Think about it. Since we're working under General Zhao, we definitely have to make her happy. If she's happy, we'll definitely benefit from it, right? Sun Lang stretched out his hand and gestured fiercely. This is why I came to you, Hero Wang. Let's join forces and recruit people, so that we can deal a heavy blow to the evil forces of Tensei Province. Chapter 594. Tonight in Huichuan, many people must be tossing and turning in bed, unable to fall asleep. The news that Tensei Province was suspected to have entered the fray spread rapidly as if it had grown wings. This was the power of the top forces of Hutu Earth, which spanned across both the black and white, entrenched in both the military and the political world. They held military power, were trusted by His Majesty, and were feared by the court. Such a terrifying force, even if it was just a name, even if it was just a flying sword, would make everyone think twice. But Sun Lang was obviously not among the people who could not sleep. Early in the morning, when Empress opened the door with a sleepy face, she saw Sun Lang doing morning exercises outside. This set of exercises, which in Empress' eyes had no beauty or practicality, was said to have come from Sun Lang's hometown. There, it was used by elementary school students to strengthen their bodies. It was called the Second National Middle School Radio Gymnastics. This kind of messy broadcast gymnastics, no wonder it could cultivate Sun Lang, this kind of crazy thing that often goes crazy. The Empress concubine silently cursed in her heart. Her expression became more and more gloomy. When she thought of Sun Lang's actions last night, she couldn't help but become angry. At this time, Sun Lang finished the last beat of the exercise with a gorgeous young pioneer's ripple scamper. Then, he raised his small hand and saluted to the rising sun. His movements were standard, and his expression was firm, expressing his revolutionary spirit of being ready to sacrifice himself for his motherland and the cause of communism at any time. Then he put down his hand, turned his head, and smiled like a revolutionary comrade at Empress Tensei, the representative of the evil forces of feudalism. You're up? You didn't dream of Freddy last night, did you? Don't give me that, Empress said coldly. What did you do last night? Sun Lang immediately stood at attention and said loudly, last night, I went to Wang Lily's house to take a plane. Empress sneered. You don't want to say? Do you think I won't be able to guess if you don't tell me? You must have gone to look for that young Master Lu yesterday and tried to coerce him. You're all alone, so you might be able to coerce him into killing his entire family, but there's no way to coerce him. Therefore, you must have used the Heavenly Policy Mansion's name to coax him into working for you, right? Sun Lang chuckled, but didn't say anything. Then you want to find Wang Dajiang and continue to tempt him. No. His Highness Empress suddenly shook his head and said in a low voice, Wang Dajiang and Mr. Liu don't see eye to eye because of the irreconcilable conflict of interests. They are both representatives and spokespersons of their respective forces. Their value lies in their identities and connections. Even if you use the name of Tensei Province to instigate them to defect, you won't be able to make them play the greatest role. She stared at Sun Lang with a burning gaze and snorted, Did you reveal Zhao Yunlong's name to Wang Dajiang? Sun Lang chuckled. You've improved a lot. You can even guess this. The Emperor's concubine sneered faintly. It's not hard to guess what you're thinking. Wang Dajiang is General Jingyang's dog. Even if you force him to join the Heavenly Policy Hall, what's the use? It's better to use your Chow Pitao to make this guy work for you wholeheartedly. At the same time, Wang Dajiang and young Master Lu will continue to be hostile to each other. As long as they're still competing with each other, the efficiency of doing things will be higher. Sun Lang clapped his hands. Yes, that's it. After a night of hard work, Mr. Lu joined the forces of Tensei Province and played a role on his stage as a hidden chess piece. Wang Dajiang was encouraged by the general's mansion in Song Province. Similarly, he worked hard to prevent Tensei Province from getting their hands on the legendary sword. When the Empress concubine heard this, she didn't know what to feel. How could a person be so shameless to this extent? She had clearly done a whole basket of bad things last night, yet she could still excitedly tell this to the victim early in the morning. Sun Lang guessed what she was thinking when he saw her expression. He couldn't help but laugh. You just need to enjoy the process. You built Tensei Province with your own hands. You walked with Tensei Province for so long. But now, your Tensei Province has become my shape. Ha ha! The Empress concubine knew that this bastard was purposely making her angry again. Once she got angry, she would do as he wished. Thus, she forcefully suppressed the anger in her heart and coldly said, "Don't tell me you think that your plan is flawless?" Sun Lang shrugged. How can that be? Espionage and instigation work requires tacit cooperation in all aspects to achieve the greatest effect. I'm doing it alone. No matter what, there will be flaws. Her Royal Highness said lightly, "You don't seem to care." Of course I don't care. Why should I care about this kind of thing? Sun Lang paced back and forth on the spot as he said with a smile, I don't expect to be able to make everyone run around in circles. I don't expect them to risk their lives to help me snatch the demon's sword and respectfully hand it over to me. My goal and request, from the beginning to the end, is very simple and clear. He turned around and looked at Empress. He smiled and said, I only hope that they can build a more effective and rapid warning system. They can release a warning signal when they discover the demon sword and let me know. I only need them to be a more efficient search team. That's all. That's why I drag your Tensei province out to be a target. I set up a huge monster so that they will have a sense of crisis and have a competitive attitude. When Sun Lang said this, he concluded, in short, I only set a small goal. I only need to achieve this goal. Other than that, I don't care about anything else. I don't care if young Master Lu has second thoughts, or if Wang Dajiang will contact General Jingyang. They only need to do what I asked them to do. Empress looked at Sun Lang. She had a complicated feeling. She already understood Sun Lang's meaning. Now he was only one step away from the demon sword, and that was the location. As long as he knew the general location of the demon sword, then the demon sword of K2 would be surnamed Sunday. No matter how many people fought with him, it would be useless. This was the benefit of absolute power. There was no need to calculate people's hearts. There was no need to weigh the gains and losses. There was no need to consider more variables. One thing, the more one could do, the less one would need to rely on external help, and the less one would need to consider the variables. She was deep in thought when she heard Sun Lang's voice from a very close place. You feel that I'm simply impossible to deal with, so you regret your choice? Empress suddenly woke up and took 2 steps back. Don't come so close to me, Sun Lang said sadly. Heartless, really heartless. In the past, we even had the opportunity to maintain a negative distance of 18 centimeters. Now I can't even get close to you. The Empress concubine ignored his dirty words and coldly said, I have never regretted. Only the weak would regret their past. Sun Lang shook his head slowly. But I regret. I should never have trusted you. Empress's eyes were cold. I will make you regret it again. Sun Lang looked at her and said calmly, No, the one who regrets is you. You will regret it sooner or later. Empress Tensei gritted her teeth and said, Then let's wait and see. Sun Lang said lightly, It won't be too long. In a wing room of the county government, several henchmen of Tensei province hid in the room and whispered. They saw Her Highness go out and wanted to come out to greet her, but they saw her quarrel with Sun Lang. Who dared to go out on such an occasion? I say. A henchman lowered his voice and whispered, What's the relationship between Sun Lang and Her Highness? Another henchman said, Are you stupid? He kidnapped Her Highness the Empress concubine, so the two of them are naturally enemies. Are you kidding? The henchman who asked the question winked. Have you ever seen an enemy with such a good relationship? Usually, they're not at daggers drawn, so they can still chat together. That Sun Lang's words are all over the place, and only Your Highness can understand them. In my opinion, even fellow soldiers who have worked together for 20 years do not have as much tacit understanding as these two. The third henchman was experienced and prudent. He whispered, Don't gossip about Her Highness's private affairs. Watch your mouth. It's not something we can discuss. Through the slightly open window frame, this person glanced outside. The two people were still, silently looking at each other. The things in their eyes had nothing to do with warmth. It was a cold blade of frost and a sharp sword of wind. Although he didn't know who this Sun Lang was, he understood that many things must have happened between him and Her Highness the Empress concubine. Things that could only be recalled, but could not be repeated. County Magistrate Lin, who came in a hurry, broke the silence. When he rushed into the backyard, he saw the confrontation between Sun Lang and Empress. But Magistrate Lin didn't think too much about it and said concisely, Your Highness, something happened again. Sun Lang frowned and said, What? Someone died again? County Magistrate Lin first glanced at Her Highness Empress. Seeing that she didn't say anything, he continued, Yes, there are 6 people this time. They were found when they entered the mountain early in the morning. It seems that they have been dead for several hours. They should have been killed in the mountain late last night. Because there are few people moving at night, and it's dark at night, they only found out now. Killed at night? Sun Lang said lightly, Entering the mountain at night? Are they tired of living? County Magistrate Lin smiled bitterly and shook his head. They are blinded by greed. Few people enter the mountain at night to search. In other words, the probability of finding the target will increase. Many people think so. They are either confident in their martial arts or have the ability to see and search in the dark, so they will start work at night. But after all the arrangements are made, such a thing happened again. Wait. Sun Lang's expression changed slightly. From what you said, they died in the same way as last night. Lin Wuying sighed and said, Yes, their bodies were torn apart and cut into pieces. It's too horrible to look at. This is interesting. Chapter 595. Early in the morning, the martial artists in Huichuan County were woken up by another piece of bad news. Someone had died again. Jianghu was a place where people fought and killed all day long. It was normal for people to die when they drew their swords in anger. Moreover, anyone with a bit of knowledge knew what was going on with the frequent murders in the Huichuan Mountains. Everyone was well aware of it. Other than being cautious, they did not have any other thoughts. But it was different this time. The victim's death was very tragic. He had been dismembered into 8 pieces. It was said that he had torn his body apart with his bare hands. These men of Jianghu knew very well how tough a martial artist's body was. To be able to tear a person into such a state with his bare hands, no matter if he was a human or a monster, his strength was enough to make people fearful. Moreover, the identities of the 2 groups of victims found today and yesterday had been identified. One group came from the south and the other from the north. They did not know each other and had no enmity with each other. There was nothing similar between them. That was more terrifying, because it meant that these 2 killings were not for revenge. It meant that the murderer might continue to kill as he wished. This news was enough to confuse people. Many people gave up on the plan to enter the mountains for the time being. They wanted to wait and see for a while before making any follow-up plans. However, before the dead were discovered at dawn, many early birds had already gone into the mountains to look for worms to eat. They didn't know anything about it and didn't feel anything at all, while the people in the county were in a state of panic, and the martial artists were running around to inquire about the news. On an inconspicuous cliff in the Huichuan Mountains, there was a sudden scream that sounded like a pig being slaughtered. Let go of me! A burly man with a strong back and a strong waist and an awe-inspiring aura let out an unyielding roar. He was wearing a close-fitting short-sleeved shirt that revealed his masculine figure. He was tall and had a heroic bearing. At first glance, people would have a good impression of him and feel that he was a reliable man, just like his current situation and his mighty and unyielding attitude. "If you have the guts, let go of me and let me fall to my death in this mountain. It's better to be with the Green Mountains than to be humiliated by a monster like you." He roared angrily. This big man indeed had a reason to be angry, because he looked very miserable at this time. His whole body was hanging upside down from the branch of a pine tree, hanging above the cliff and constantly swaying. Below him was a bottomless abyss. As long as the rope broke, unless he grew a pair of wings, he would probably turn into a two-dimensional being when he fell. What was that saying again? A soldier would rather be killed than humiliated. While he was roaring unyieldingly, he was hit on the head by a tree branch. A soft and angry female voice sounded, "You cunning human, you clearly know that I won't kill you, but you're acting like a hero here," after heaving a sigh of relief. How shameless! The mighty man's expression froze, and then he flew into a rage out of humiliation. "I, G. Howren, am a man of indomitable spirit. How can I allow you to slander me? Hurry up and kill me." After he finished speaking, he was hit on the head again. "If you're afraid, just say so. Why are you trying so hard? Aren't you thinking that if I really want to kill you, you'll loudly beg for mercy?" The man finally showed a horrified expression. "Monster, what kind of witchcraft are you using? This is not witchcraft. Alas, you humans, everything you see is witchcraft." The female voice sighed, and then said, "I'll untie you. Don't mess around, or I'll kick you off the cliff." Swordsman G suddenly felt the rope around his feet loosen. Then a small hand grabbed his back and threw him to the side of a mountain rock. He leaned against the rock and gasped for breath. He looked at the girl in front of him in shock and fear. From his point of view, the girl in front of him was also a little beauty. Her posture was tall and straight. Her eyes were bright and spirited, and her pink cheeks reflected a healthy blush. She looked very energetic, but her eyebrows were slightly furrowed, as if she had something on her mind. Her thick black hair was combed into a braid, and she was very cute. If he met such a beauty at any other time, he would definitely find a way to get close to her. But now, he did not dare to do so, because this beautiful little girl was not human, but a demon that could read people's minds. Countless heroes had gathered in Huichuan, and they were all here for her. To be more precise, they were here for the sword she carried. It was said that it was a peerless divine weapon that never appeared in the world. What Hero G didn't know was that at this moment, the girl was secretly communicating with something he couldn't understand. The girl was a demon. Her name was Xie Wei, and she lived in a paradise surrounded by mountains since she was young. There were humans and demons there, but there were more demons, and they were different from her. The humans were kind but firm. They took care of them, accompanied them, and taught them a lot of knowledge, but they were not willing to let them take a step out of the mountains. She was originally the child that the teachers liked the most. Her running away this time was equivalent to running away from home. The reason why it was successful was because the teachers trusted her the most. This was because she was usually the most obedient child. Not only did she never go against the teachers' teachings, she even helped the teachers supervise her own kind. She didn't let them be naughty. She didn't let them be mischievous. She didn't let them cause trouble. She didn't let them act recklessly. Xie Wei did such a big thing because she had to escape. She was a demon, and there were many kinds of demons, and her tribe was called the Horned Tiger. She was almost the last descendant of the Horned Tiger clan in this world because her parents had participated in the Tianyuan Great War when she was still young. Furthermore, in the final battle, they had sacrificed their lives for the peace of the world and the safety of all living beings. They had died valiantly in battle. She heard from the teachers that she had an older brother, but his whereabouts were unknown. Therefore, every night, other than greeting her parents in the sky and telling them about what happened today, she would look at the sky and pray, hoping that she could reunite with her brother soon. She really hoped that she could have an older brother because she never knew what it felt like to be accompanied by family. But she would never have the chance. This was because the Horned Tiger tribe had a mysterious power in their bloodline that could resonate with their family. When they reached adulthood, this power would awaken, and they would be able to see fragments of memories left behind by other family members through the spiritual resonance of their bloodline. She had just reached adulthood not long ago, and what she saw was the scene of her brother's death. Her brother's head had been cut off by a human. What she saw were fragments of memories. There was no light or sound. She didn't know what had happened, and she didn't know what was going on. The only thing she knew was that the human had indeed killed her brother. She saw his face and some other things. Those other terrifying memories were the reason why she didn't reveal this to the teachers. She quietly planned a way to escape. She wanted to do something, and her plan was very successful because no one would suspect her. However, she didn't know if it was luck or not, but Xie Wei, who had just escaped from the 100,000 Mountains, suddenly found a purple sword falling from the sky. There was a voice in the sword, and she said that she used to be called Lu Shujian. Now, she was called Ji Du at this time. Xie Wei was communicating with Sister Lu. Sister Lu was good at everything, but her personality was a bit overbearing, fierce, and cold. Ji Du's sword spirit was naturally a bitch that he hadn't seen for a long time. She said in a bad mood, "Why are you soft-hearted again?" We agreed to scare him and ask him about the situation. Xie Wei sighed and explained, "I saw that the branch made a soft cracking sound. I don't know if it can hold on. If it suddenly breaks, I won't be able to catch him in time. This person will fall directly off the cliff and die. Wouldn't that be an unjust death?" The sword spirit said angrily, "Bah, you are a monster. How can you be more wishy-washy than a human hypocrite? Your teachers have educated you like a little lamb. Count it yourself. If it weren't for me, how many times would you have died along the way?" Xie Wei said honestly, "I don't think I would have died even once. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been chased." The bitch personality couldn't help but be speechless. Then she said angrily, "You mean let's break up now, right? Do you want to take revenge or not?" Xie Wei hesitated for a moment and said softly, "I don't know. I want to see him first and ask him why he killed my brother." The bitch personality said firmly, "That's why I said, are you an idiot? Killing doesn't need a reason. In this world, you kill me and I kill you. Your enemy's martial arts are very powerful. If you go, you will definitely be beheaded. If you don't want to die, if you want revenge, you have to listen to me. Only my strength can help you and make you extremely powerful overnight. Do you understand?" Xie Wei nodded repeatedly. Okay, Sister Lu, I will listen to you." The sword spirit said gloomily, "Well, now pull out your sword and stab that idiot to death. Anyway, these humans started first. Since they came to rob us, they should be prepared to die. The essence of their flesh and blood is just right for us to use. That won't do. You can't kill people. What's more, you have to suck out their flesh and blood. Isn't this something that only bad guys do?" Xie Wei quickly rejected her partner's proposal. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, she looked at Ji Haoran fiercely and said, "You are not allowed to follow me. Otherwise, I will stab you to death with my sword." Oomph. Hero Ji trembled in fear. Then he saw the little girl leave quickly. Oomph. She was probably afraid of exposing her whereabouts and attracting a large number of people to search for her. He snorted coldly in his heart. After hesitating for a moment, he shook his head and said, "Forget it. She spared my life. If I go back and find someone to stop her, I'll be worse than a pig or a dog. Besides, no one will believe me. From the looks of it, the 4 people who died yesterday shouldn't have been killed by this little girl. Then who killed them?" The mountain wind blew, cold and chilling. He couldn't help but shiver. Everything around him became creepy. Hero Ji immediately jumped up and went down the mountain in another direction. Chapter 596. Xie Wei's footsteps were fast, and he had already walked far away. The B*TCH was losing her temper because she didn't get to eat the meat feast. She hated iron for not becoming steel. "Tell me, are you stupid? I didn't ask you to take the initiative to eat people, did I? They delivered themselves to your doorstep, wanting to kill you and snatch your sword. Yet you turned around and chopped them to death. It's fair and square, and no one could say anything about it. This is the truth that applies everywhere. But look at you. His saber is already at your head. And you actually let him go? Xiaowei retorted as he walked. I'm not so pedantic. If my life is really in danger, I can't let them kill me. But just like that person, they can't hurt us. Why do I have to kill them? The B*TCH wasn't happy. You are pedantic. Where do you think these idiots come from? Isn't it because you were soft-hearted and let that idiot go? You didn't kill anyone who tried to steal the sword along the way, causing things to get bigger and bigger. Do you think you can turn danger into safety every time? What if more powerful people come? Xiaowei couldn't help retorting. But killing them will also attract more people. They must have their own relatives and friends. If I kill them, their close people will come for revenge. I can't kill everyone, right? I haven't killed anyone, so I can reason with anyone I meet. The reputation of our monster race isn't very good. If I kill people, won't the situation become worse? Idiot, idiot. Xiaowei's logic was something the B*TCH couldn't understand. She coldly sneered. You didn't kill anyone? What does it have to do with them, whether you kill or not? The current situation is that even if you didn't kill anyone, they will still blame you. Who do you think will reason with you? Xiaowei said seriously. At least my teachers will listen to me and believe me. As long as the people closest to me believe me, nothing else matters. Anyway, you are pedantic. That's why you fell into this situation where everyone wants to beat you up. Who will reason with you? This world is all about the size of a fist. The B*TCH's tone was still very disdainful. He thought for a moment and said resentfully, if that person encountered such a thing, he would have already slashed at him with his sword. You said I killed someone? Even if I didn't kill them, I will kill them for you to see. Not only will I kill them for you to see, I will kill them until you admit that I didn't kill anyone. You have to learn this. This is the most effective way to solve the problem. Xiaowei showed a disgusted expression. He's a bad guy. I don't want to be that kind of person. Coincidentally, she and Big Sister Lu's enemy was actually the same person. The demon sword that fell from the sky just happened to fall on her head. It could be seen that there was a great fate in the underworld. This matter was actually quite embarrassing. Xiaowei only saw some fragments in the blood resonance. There was no sound. She only remembered the appearance of the enemy who killed her brother. She didn't know what the other party's name was, nor did she know where he was. Under normal circumstances, even if that person's appearance was described to the B*TCH, the B*TCH wouldn't think that it was Sun Lang, but the clothes worn by Sun Lang were really easy to remember. In the entire hood, too, he might be the only one who dressed like this. So when the B*TCH heard the description of wearing a foreign-style robe, like this on the inside and like this on the outside, she almost immediately thought of the bastard who locked her in Kada City. This was simply fate's arrangement. The two of them had a common enemy, so they quickly became enemies. The B*TCH naturally seized every opportunity to blacken Sun Lang, so it didn't take long. In the eyes of the inexperienced Xiaowei, Sun Lang was the #1 bad guy in the world. He was an enemy that must be defeated. The B*TCH planned her revenge, but this year's sword master was simply not good. This Xiaowei grew up in a place isolated from the world. She was brainwashed by the human who raised her into a kind and obedient girl. She was obviously a monster, but her heart was actually better than a human's. Moreover, she was stubborn and serious in doing things. She was not easy to fool. The most terrible thing was that her heart was too soft. She didn't even want to kill a person. What else could she do? She said in a bad tone, "You don't want to be that kind of person? Do you know how high his martial arts are? Without my help, he can cut you in half with a breath. You can't beat him, and you're not as ruthless as him. How can you take revenge?" Xiaowei sighed. Let's talk about it when I see him first. The B*TCH wanted to say something more, but she suddenly became vigilant. Be careful. Xiaowei was stunned at first. Then she frowned and looked around. Suddenly, there was a gust of wind above her head. She immediately jumped to the side, and a dull sound came from behind her. The little demoness turned around and saw a man who looked like a bear. This was not an exaggeration. This person really looked like a bear. Compared to him, the dignified Ji Howren just now looked like a little bean sprout. This person was wearing clothes sewn with fur. His exposed arms and thighs were also covered with thick body hair. He looked rough, and there was a circle of beast teeth hanging around his neck. He looked like a savage who came out of the mountains, but Xiaowei didn't treat him as a savage. When she saw this person for the first time, she sucked in a breath of cold air. She felt a very familiar feeling. This person, no, it was not a human. It was also a monster like her. While Xiaowei was looking at him vigilantly, the uninvited guest who suddenly appeared was also looking at her. Those eyes made Xiaowei feel very uncomfortable. They were like the eyes of a beast in the mountains. They were greedy and ferocious, mixed with a terrible desire. Xiaowei didn't hide the thought that came from his mind. The monster stared at her for a while, licked his lips, and showed a satisfied smile. He stretched out his big fan-like hand and said, "Give it to me." Xiaowei took 2 steps back and said vigilantly, "No." The monster showed an arrogant look and said, "Seeing that you brought me the sacred sword, I will forgive your rudeness this time. I am Gu Diao, from the Li Yun Wilderness. I am the prince of the Li Yun Demon Clan, the favorite of the Julie tribe, the future emperor of the Demon Clan, destined to be the eternal overlord of the Demon Clan. All demons must be loyal to me, including you." His eyes were full of desire as they swept over Xiaowei. "You are the Horned Tiger Clan. Your bloodline is noble and very healthy. You will definitely give birth to strong children for me. You are very beautiful, and I like you very much. What's more, you brought me the sacred sword that only the Demon Clan's king is qualified to control. Just like in the legends, a beautiful girl offers the sword to the king and then marries him." Gu Jiao took a step forward and stretched out his hand. "My woman, give the sword to your husband to win my favor and favor." Xiaowei's face suddenly turned red. No matter what, she was still a big girl. She had never seen such a scene before. Moreover, the person in front of her was saying such excessive words with a serious face. And, from the fluctuations in his heart, he actually said such words from the bottom of his heart. The B*TCH personality had already cursed. Who the F*CK is this? He is seriously ill. I don't know you, and I don't know where the Li Yun Wilderness is. I don't need to be loyal to you, and I don't want to marry you. I can't give you the sword." Xiaowei bluntly refused the request of this rude person and took a few steps back. "We are both from the Demon Clan. I don't want to be beaten by you." "Stupid." Gu Jiao's shout was like a thunderclap in the sky. A terrifying demonic aura suddenly erupted. The wind blew, and the stones and sand flew. The birds and beasts in the forest fled in panic. A terrifying aura pressed down on Xiaowei. "The first thing I want to teach you is not to disobey your husband. Otherwise, you will be whipped." Xiaowei faced the front and was shocked. Fortunately, a warm current came from Ji Du behind her, giving her the strength and courage to resist. This guy who suddenly jumped out seemed to have the confidence to be arrogant. At least she had dealt with many people these days, and this person was much stronger than everyone else. If Ji Du wasn't in her hands, she was afraid that at this moment, she would have been overwhelmed by the momentum from this top demon clan. She looked at Gu Jiao in front of her and suddenly remembered something. "Did you kill those people?" Gu Jiao grinned. "Yes, they offended me, and then I tore them apart." Xiaowei glanced at him and suddenly shook her head. "No, you are lying. You don't know about the deaths of the humans. You just want to scare me." Gu Jiao said coldly, "Don't use your mind-reading technique, Horned Tiger." His fierce appearance made Xiaowei's heart skip a beat. This was the most overbearing person she had ever seen. "Don't be afraid." The B*TCH transmitted a message with her mind. The sword spirit shouted, "If you want to avenge your brother, sooner or later you will have to face an enemy stronger than him." Is this brainless demon very strong? Let me tell you, he is still far from being strong. He is not even qualified to carry Sun Lang's shoes. If you can't even beat him, you might as well surrender and be this bear's concubine. I don't want to. Xiaowei immediately refused and then hesitated. That's Sun Lang. Is he really much stronger than him? In fact. The B*TCH wanted to say a few words to avoid hurting Xiaowei too much, but she was silent for a moment and sighed. Yes, Sun Lang is much stronger than him. Xiaowei looked at Gu Jiao in front of her and felt the terrifying aura and boiling demonic power. For a moment, she couldn't imagine how much stronger Gu Jiao was. You are not lying to me again, are you? I am not lying this time. All right, that bear is getting impatient. You also cheer up for me. The B*TCH shouted. Draw your sword and teach this bear a lesson. Wake him up. Oh. Xiaowei drew in a deep breath as her gaze turned calm. With an intention of her will, the sword behind her back emitted a buzzing sound as it flashed with a demonic violet light, landing in the girl's hand. The violet light reflected in her eyes as the demon sword's energy circulated around the body of the sword and its owner, forming a harmonious resonance. Gu Jiao could no longer care about Xiaowei's attitude. All his attention was on the sword. This attractive pattern, this exciting power, there was no doubt that this sword was his. It was the destined demon emperor's. It was the beginning of his grand hegemony. It was the horn for him to counterattack the humans. He wanted to regain the dignity and status of the demon race. He wanted to take back everything his ancestors had lost. He looked at Xiaowei, and the excitement in his voice could hardly be suppressed. I will say it one last time. Take the initiative to give me the sword and everything you have. Beg for my favor. This is your last chance. Don't let me take it myself. Otherwise, after I get the sword, I will let you know the taste of a life worse than death. Xiaowei's eyes became incomparably calm. It is because of a monster like you that we are misunderstood everywhere. Gu Jiao didn't speak anymore. His bones made a violent cracking sound, and his terrifying aura rose higher and higher. He slowly raised his hand. Pay attention, the B*TCH shouted. Remember what I usually teach you. This will be a fierce battle. You have to wait. At this moment, Gu Jiao, whose aura had reached its peak, turned around in shock. At the same time, Xiaowei's heart was alarmed. Her intuition as a monster was frantically warning her. What was that? Immediately, the B*TCH screamed through the spiritual link. The sword spirit's voice was unprecedentedly embarrassed and shocked. She screamed, "Run!" Chapter 597. Even without the sword spirit's reminder, Xiaowei knew what she had to do. Run. She turned around and ran as fast as she could, but in the next moment, an overwhelming sense of oppression came crashing down on her from behind like a tidal wave. Danger. Her heart was telling her. Danger, extreme danger. Xiaowei had never known what danger was, nor did she know the feeling of fear and helplessness. She grew up in a paradise in the 100,000 mountains. From a young age, there was a group of teachers who taught and protected them. Every day in the valley was peaceful and interesting. No one could hurt her, and no one dared to hurt her. When she escaped from the mountains, she happened to pick up the demon sword Ji-Du under the protection of this demon sword that could keep pace with the 7 luminaries' sacred sword. Even if she encountered any danger along the way, she could easily get rid of it. In addition, she had the ability to read people's minds. So even if she walked in this world full of evil, there would not be any problems. Even now, when she was blocked in the Huichuan Mountains, a group of Jianghu people coveted her sword, and even when she met this demon prince who called himself Gu Jiao, under the pressure of his demon power, she did not feel any fatal threat. Because she had the Ji-Du demon sword in her hand, no matter what, Sister Lu would protect her. But this time was different. Danger, extreme danger. It was as if she was walking alone in a wild world. In the darkness around her, there were countless terrifying predators that could take her life at any time. Most importantly, she realized that this time, even if she had Ji-Du in her hand, even if she had Sister Lu's protection, she could not change anything. The strength of the other party had exceeded her imagination. The terrifying pressure and the alarm in her heart almost strangled her throat. It was extreme fear, extreme panic. She had never encountered a situation like this before. The imminent danger of her life was like a sharp sword pressed against her back, and with a light push, it could take her life. Her whole body was bursting with one word: run. She wished she could grow wings and fly as far away as possible. However, what made her despair was that when the earth-shattering power came crashing down on her, her body was already out of the control of her brain. She became limp and powerless, like a lamb targeted by a tiger or a leopard. She could not move at all. Her heart beat faster and faster, and her breathing became more and more hurried. It was as if her entire body was about to explode. She couldn't help but feel despair in her heart. Was this the true expert? At this moment, the Kated demon, sword in her hand, emitted a rapid radiance. A purple halo enveloped the terrified girl, allowing her to recover some of her strength. The bitch's voice was extremely urgent. Stand up. Run. Xiaowei gritted his teeth, mustered all his strength, and rushed forward. He was covered in dust and grass as he fled in a sorry state. She had never been so embarrassed and terrified in her life. As she ran, she asked the bee *TCH, What is that? She was almost on the verge of tears. The bee *TCH's voice was also extremely flustered. How the *CK would I know? Where did this monster come from? It's all your fault. If you had killed those people before, there wouldn't be today's matter. Xiaowei was at a loss. How did I know this would happen? The next moment, a series of roars came from behind. It was like thunder, shaking the mountains and shaking the earth. It was as if two prehistoric behemoths were madly colliding with each other, accompanied by the roar of the ancient eagle. The two monsters had already started fighting. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Xiaowei didn't need to be *TCH's urging and sped up to escape. The aftermath of the battle over there was simply earth-shattering. The mountain peak under her feet was constantly shaking. Large pieces of gravel were thrown into the air and splashed everywhere. The angry roar of the ancient eagle was endless. There was also another voice. Xiaowei didn't know what this terrifying thing was, but she felt that it was definitely not human. It was howling, roaring, and roaring from beginning to end. It was like a peerless beast that was no different from the ancient eagle. Its arrogance was overwhelming, and its power was amazing. Xiaowei lowered her body to avoid the large pieces of flying stones and exclaimed, "Is this an internal strife among the monster race?" The bee *TCH shouted, "At this time, don't meddle in their business." The demonic beast and the sword continued to flee for a few more moments. Abruptly, her body trembled. Behind her, the roars of the ancient statue were even more enraged than before. Demonic energy soared up to the skies, permeating the air. Xiaowei was surprised. That ancient eagle has already revealed its original form. In such a short time, it has been forced to this point. She soon discovered that she was wrong. The little monster didn't think that the arrogant and self-righteous Prince Li Yun would be forced to this point, because not long after, the sound of the ancient eagle had completely changed. From the excited roar at the beginning to the angry roar to the shocked roar, and then to the painful wail. This monster known as Li Yun, the future emperor of the monster race, let out a wail of helplessness, madness, and despair. Xiaowei stopped in shock and looked behind her. She had already run far enough away. She couldn't see the scene over there and could only hear the desperate wail of the ancient eagle. She was familiar with this sound. It was like the sound she heard when she was a child when she heard a deer being held down and bitten by a tiger. It was the sound of being suppressed by a ferocious enemy that couldn't resist. It couldn't break free, but it couldn't die immediately. It could only endure the intense pain as it was bitten, torn apart bit by bit. It was the sound of a pitiful prey. She couldn't help but think of the threat that the ancient eagle had made to her before. It made her experience the feeling of living a life worse than death. Now, he probably understood what it felt like to live a life worse than death. Wei felt the world spinning, and an even greater fear swept over her. She said in a trembling voice, "He was eaten, swallowed alive." The B*TCH also experienced a similar shock as her. The sword spirit murmured, "That? What exactly is that thing?" There was no answer, and they didn't want to know the answer. The only thing they had to do now was to run as far away as possible. As far away as possible, Xia Wei finally found a mountain stream and hid in it. She drank a few mouthfuls of water and leaned against the stone wall on one side, panting heavily. She was still in shock. Today, she had encountered a monster that she absolutely couldn't compete with. Even if it was just its power, it was enough to make her run away. She couldn't even muster a trace of fighting spirit. For the first time, the little minx intuitively felt the reality and cruelty of this world. This world was not as safe as she had imagined. Xia Wei's legs went soft, and she sat on the ground. As soon as she relaxed, 2 drops of tears rolled down her face involuntarily. She said in a panicked tone, "That Sun Lang, compared to that person just now, who is stronger and who is weaker." The B*TCH was silent for a long time before she slowly said, "Although you may not believe it, I think that Sun Lang is stronger. That person just now vented his anger and momentum without reservation. But Sun Lang restrained his anger in his heart. Only people who can control their anger can better control their power. I can't imagine what Sun Lang looks like when he's angry." In Xia Wei's mind, a memory fragment from a long time ago that he had obtained from his father flashed. She whispered, "Is that so? The battle just now was simply earth-shattering, and the news couldn't be hidden." Sun Lang didn't know that he was being talked about by a minx and a sword spirit. He noticed the strange movement coming from the Huai-Chuan Mountains. That kind of noise, let alone Sun Lang, a slightly stronger master would be able to detect it. He arrived at the place where the battle took place at the fastest speed. It was a mess. The mountains that had been uninhabited for a long time were in a mess. It was as if a demolition team had passed through. The remnants of the demon aura had contaminated the broken grass and trees. The flowing blood had sunk into the soil. There were no insects or beasts. Not even an ant could be found. No animal dared to come close. Because a powerful demon beast had died here. Even the remnants of its death were enough to make the weaker beasts flee in panic. They didn't dare to come close. A huge body of a strange beast was lying on the ground. The surrounding soil was dug up and the stones were torn apart. It must have suffered amazing pain and despair before it died. These were all traces of its struggle. It died in the same way as the previous 2 groups of humans, but this time it was a demon, dismembered into 8 pieces. Sun Lang stepped on the pool of golden blood. He kicked aside a beast leg in front of him and checked around. He had never seen such a type of demon before. Eagle head, leopard body, lion tail, and deer-like horns. Sun Lang touched his chin. It's another strange type of demon. A bright golden light flashed. Empress came riding the Tianyuan saber. Although her martial arts were far inferior to Sun Lang's, she was born with a silver spoon in her mouth and had countless cheats. Relying on the Tianyuan saber, given by the emperor, she was always fast. She furrowed her brows and looked around at the shattered environment. Her gaze fell on the corpse of the demonic beast. Looking at the distinct features of the corpse and the golden blood on the ground, her gaze changed slightly. "This is an ancient sculpture." Sun Lang turned around. "Another criminal you colluded with?" Empress seemed to be greatly shocked and could not accept this fact for a while. "This is the prince of Li Yun's demon race, an ancient statue. It is said that when it was born, it carried the golden blood. It was regarded as a natural leader and king by the demon race. Its talent was outstanding, and it was supported by the demon race. I didn't expect it to die here. Who killed it? Another F***king royal. It's good that it died." Sun Lang stretched out his foot and kicked the huge eagle head that was torn to the ground. It died with its eyes wide open. Endless despair and anger still condensed in its golden eyes, as if it could not accept this fact. Empress heard the sarcasm in his words and snorted coldly. Looking at Sun Lang kicking the head back and forth, she could not help but say, "Hey, it's the Prince of Li Yun's demon race, oh." Sun Lang nodded to show that he understood. "This head is not bad. Do you want to take it back and make a specimen? Also, can this meat be eaten?" Chapter 598. Sun Lang didn't seem to be joking. His eyes scanned the carcass of the ancient sculpture as if he was looking for the most delicious part. "I feel that its protein content is at least 20 times that of beef." Then he seemed to have seen a part that was not suitable for children. He couldn't help but gasp and nod. "This donkey, it can probably make people's brains. It can be sold for a lot of money." Emperor Concubine shouted, "Can you be more serious?" Sun Lang blinked, thought for a moment, and then nodded. "You're right. Our hearts should be pure. Look at this monster. It's full of treasures. Look at its fierce bones. Look at the dragon teeth in its mouth, the snake jade in its eyes, the phoenix feathers on its body, the barbarian god's heart in its chest, and the claws of chaos on its limbs, the black tallow in its body, the warhorse's horn on its head, the blood tearstone, and the octuplet crystal in its eyes." He pointed his finger in the last direction and introduced with a righteous face, "And such a big spirit root here." After recounting everything, Sun Lang looked at the Empress Concubine with admiration. "You really know how to live. These materials are enough for you to break through. Come, bring your saber over. I'll gather some materials." Empress said coldly, "Don't talk about your previous life. This is the Prince of Li Yun's demon tribe. If he dies here, it will cause a big mess." Sun Lang yawned. "It's already dead. What's the use of talking about it? Also, what can happen?" The Empress Concubine's tone became colder and colder. Most of the demons in Li Yun believed that Gu Jiao would become their future emperor. He was the prince that everyone had high hopes for and was valued by the great demons. Now, he died here in the Huaichuan mountain range. He died so miserably and silently. Do you think the demons will let this go? Sun Lang looked at her from the corner of his eyes and was a little puzzled. "Haven't you been living more and more in the past 2 years? This son of a bitch has hands and feet. He ran to human territory and appeared in the world. His ability was not good, so he was cut into pieces. Doesn't that serve him right? Why won't the monsters give up? The emperor that they've taken a fancy to is like this. They should feel embarrassed. Why are you panicking?" Empress snorted. "You say it so easily. This is not your country. Of course, it's easy for you to say that." Sun Lang spread out his hands and said, "It's strange. This demon came to the territory of the Empire and massacred human beings. In the end, it suffered retribution. Isn't this a good thing? The demon won't let it go. The one who should be the most unwilling to let it go should be the imperial court. Why does this demon dare to come to the Empire and kill people?" Empress frowned and said, "It died in the same way as the previous 2 batches of victims. It should have died in the hands of the same person. Those people were not killed by him, right? Hey, you were so good at framing me. Why have you become so innocent and cute now?" Sun Lang pointed at the corpse of the ancient sculpture. "It's already dead. How can it get up and argue with you? Such a good pot of shit should be on its face. It killed those people. A demon came to the Empire to kill people. This is an international dispute. The imperial court should send someone to the Li Yun wilderness to reprimand the demon king. If they can't do it, they should send soldiers to kill their mother." Empress wanted to ridicule him, but suddenly her expression changed. "Don't you want military power and be a high-ranking official? Why are you shouting so happily? Should you lead soldiers to kill their mother?" Sun Lang said proudly, "I'm not going. In my previous life, I was a member of the Politburo Standing Committee. As the saying goes, the son of a rich family does not sit under the awning. Of course, the rough work of fighting should be done by your Tensei province." Empress seemed to understand Sun Lang's intention. She said coldly, "You are just fanning the flames. You can't wait for the Empire to have enemies everywhere, and the flames of war will continue." In terms of quarreling, Sun Lang did not lose to anyone. He laughed. "You attach so much importance to the opinion of the demon race. I'm afraid you have an alliance with Li Yin. You have something to ask of him, so you are appeasing him." The two glared at each other for a moment. Empress shook her head and sighed. "The internal strife is unbalanced, and the external strife is rising again." Sun Lang's internal strife was very self-aware. He snorted, "Bullsh asterisk T. Those demon beasts that were chased around like dogs, are they worthy of being an equal threat to me?" General Tensei snorted. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. She looked at the corpse on the ground and said slowly, "Did you see it? Who killed it?" Sun Lang smiled faintly. "I saw something. It's very interesting. I thought I had overestimated this person's martial arts. I didn't expect that I still underestimated him." Empress frowned. "What do you mean?" Sun Lang did not answer. He just waved his hand. An invisible force spread out from his hand and enveloped the battlefield. After a moment, a faint purple color appeared between the soil, grass, trees, and gravel. It seemed to be responding to something. "Do you see the remaining demonic energy on the battlefield?" This demon fought with the enemy with all its strength, but it was still defeated. The demonic energy it used with all its strength was forcibly shattered and scattered everywhere. Other than that, there is nothing. Sun Lang repeated calmly, "There is nothing." Empress thought for a moment, and her expression suddenly changed. "You mean," Sun Lang smiled, "yes, when a murderer killed those warriors, he also relied on brute force. He did not use martial arts, nor did he use his true energy. He only relied on his well-tempered body to kill the enemy. At first, we suspected that he was not human, but obviously he should be human. Moreover, his external hard body skills were so strong that it was frightening. Not only could he tear the warriors apart, but he could also use pure physical strength to tear apart this powerful demon." He turned to Empress and said faintly, "I really didn't know that there was such a fierce person in the world. Who could it be?" The Emperor's concubine shook her head with an ugly expression. "I also don't know. There are countless masters in this world who cultivate both internal and external martial arts. However, for external martial arts to be so violent and violent to such an extent, to still use such brute force to fight and kill. Is there such a person?" she asked. "Is there really such a person? Is he really a human?" Sun Lang said firmly, "Most likely, and there must be such a person." Empress asked, "Who is it?" "I don't know," Sun Lang said slowly, "but to tear apart this demon with only physical strength, I can do it, so there must be someone who can do it. Human beings can do it." General Tensei shook his head. "You can do it, but it doesn't mean that you will do it. We use such a bloody way to kill people. The great masters in the world have experienced countless battles. Their daily cultivation and combat experience have been combined to forge the most suitable fighting style for them. Some use swords, some use fists and palms, and some use hidden weapons. I have never heard of a great master who would use such a disgraceful and disorderly way to kill people. That can only mean that a situation may be a bit special." Sun Lang smiled deeply. "I'm beginning to be interested in this person. Who could he be?" Empress said slowly, "I hope that County Magistrate Lin, Tensei Province, and your two new friends can give us a surprise. No matter what, they had to bury the demon's body for the time being. After all, the earth-shattering battle that had just happened must have attracted a lot of attention. If they found out that such a powerful demon had been cut into pieces in the same way, it would definitely cause a huge uproar and add endless variables to this matter. Before this matter was settled, Huichuan could not fall into chaos. As for how to deal with the corpse, it was simple. Sun Lang easily dispersed the demonic energy entrenched here. Then he smashed a large hole in the ground and threw the entire ancient statue inside. After covering it, he randomly smashed around the surroundings. After destroying the surrounding terrain, he swaggered off with the Empress concubine. Before leaving, he did not forget to say to Empress, "After this matter is over, remember to dig it out and teach those demons a lesson. How can they be allowed to behave so atrociously in the Empire?" As for those experts who were rushing here, they were too slow. When they discovered the abnormality, just now. Sun Lang and Empress rushed to the scene as fast as they could. The henchmen who stayed in Huaichuan were not idle either. All the elite scouts of Tensei Province in Huaichuan were dispatched, and County Magistrate Lin also led the county soldiers to set up arrangements. In addition, Wang Dajiang and young Master Lu also received news from Sun Lang. They were the representatives of their respective allied forces and were very well informed. Their mission was the same, which was to keep an eye on the surroundings and pay attention to the people who fled instead of rushing in after the incident. The result was very satisfactory. Empress received the expected surprise. In only half an hour, the two of them received a goshawk message from Tensei Province. The fierce henchmen of Tensei Province had captured a high-value target who might have witnessed the battle just now. In the back hall of the Huaichuan County Government Office, a dignified 7-feet-tall man sat upright on a chair. His bearing was dignified and his eyes were focused, but there was a faint trace of fear and uneasiness in the depths of his eyes. The sound of footsteps rang out one after another. The man's body trembled slightly. He turned his head to look at the door and saw two people walking in. The man walked straight to him and sat down on the chair next to him. He took out 2 ingots of gold from his pocket and slammed them on the table twice. "Friend, seeing your extraordinary appearance and panicked eyes, I have a rough idea of what kind of person you are. Then let's talk more concisely. Do you see these 2 ingots of gold? Answer my questions honestly and they'll be yours. Otherwise," the man's attention was already attracted by the 2 yellow ingots of gold. Then he saw a hand cover them and gently clench them. When the hand opened again, the 2 ingots of gold had been clenched into a ball. Gold was very tempting, and the threat of death was very frightening. Using gold to show the threat of death doubled the effect of coercion and bribery. The man swallowed his saliva and said in a trembling voice, "Sir, please tell me." Sun Lang smiled with satisfaction. "Good, you know what to do. Then, the first question, what's your name?" The man answered honestly, "This one's surname is Ji. My name is Ji Haoran." Chapter 599. Ji Haoran. Awe-inspiring righteousness, a good name. This Ji Haoran was the man who had been hung over the cliff by Xie Wei to scare him before letting him go. It turned out that he was looking at the almanac when he went out today. Not only did Xie Wei not kill him, he also didn't run into the ancient statue that was searching for Xie Wei. Otherwise, with the ruthless appearance of the monster prince, he wouldn't have a good end. After he was let go by Xie Wei, he noticed a monster power not far away on the way down the mountain. Originally, he was hesitating whether to go back and take a look. After all, the little goblin had let him live, and he felt disloyal if he just left. But soon, he also felt a terrifying aura that wanted to strangle everything. Immediately, the world roared and rocks flew. The scene of the ancient statue and the mysterious person fighting completely shattered all his courage. Ji Haoran fled in a sorry state, hating his parents for not giving birth to him with 2 more legs. As for the matter of the little goblin, he had long forgotten about it. You can see how the story unfolds. A stranger meets a beautiful girl, and the two have met once. He even owes her a favor. When he is about to leave, he suddenly feels an extremely terrifying aura coming from behind. It seems that the girl is in danger. Although he is very afraid, when he thinks that the girl might be in danger, he has to face it head-on, even if there is danger ahead. This kind of story was obviously a choice that a brave and righteous protagonist should make. Then, a beautiful story happened. He saved the girl in danger, and the two of them escaped together. During this thrilling escape, they gradually developed some kind of relationship. Then, they fell in love with each other, and from then on, a beautiful marriage or something like that was born. However, Ji Haoran didn't run away. So as soon as he ran out, he was secretly taken down by several people with bad expressions. He was tied up in a sack and brought here. To have such an end, it could only be said that he didn't fight hard enough. Sun Lang nodded and said, "Ji Haoran, by the way, I knew a person called Ji Yanran when I was a child. I played with her before. Do you know her?" Ji Haoran thought hard for a moment, then shook his head and said, "I am the only child in my family. None of my relatives know of such a person. Sun Lang smiled. Then let's not talk about this. Just now, there was such a big commotion. You must have heard it. Or rather, you were in the mountains at that time. Did you see it? He had just been talking about Ji Yanron's daily life, but now he suddenly went straight to her heart, catching her off guard. Ji Haoran was shocked. His emotions were immediately reflected in his eyes. Looking at his expression, Sun Lang knew what was going on. Your eyes have already told me the answer. You better not lie. The golden ball in his hand had already been spread out on the table like a dumpling skin. Ji Haoran looked flustered as he looked at the calm Sun Lang and stammered, Yes, this lowly one did see. Sun Lang asked, What did you see? Hero Ji's body trembled slightly, and his teeth chattered. He said again, No, I didn't see anything. Sun Lang was a little impatient, but looking at Ji Haoran's scared face, it did not seem like he was deliberately lying. So he asked patiently, You mean you didn't see the appearance of the two people fighting, but you were not far from there? Ji Haoran nodded, like a chicken pecking rice. That's right. If he was close enough to see the appearance of the two people, he would not have been able to come back alive. Sun Lang thought for a moment, grabbed the golden pancake on the table, kneaded it into a ball, and handed it to Ji Haoran. Good answer. Now this is yours. There are 2 more ingots. Tell me the situation at that time. Ji Haoran was greatly relieved. Fortunately, this person only cared about the battle and did not know that he had seen the little fairy before. Thinking of the girl's delicate appearance and the kindness of sparing his life, he was really embarrassed to take the initiative to tell this matter, even if the other party should have run away long ago. Thus, he calmed himself down and said, At that time, I was halfway up a mountain when I suddenly saw a purple light rising from a few hills away. Then, I felt my heart beating very fast, and I felt a little dizzy. At that time, I was so scared that I wanted to run away, but I still watched for a while. Soon, I felt an even more terrifying aura, as if a terrifying monster was rushing over here. Hero Ji was a little clumsy and could not vividly describe the situation at that time, but from his lingering fear, one could see how fierce the battle was. After listening to him, Sun Lang closed his eyes and pondered for a moment. Then he opened his eyes and said, You mean there's a monster that released a terrifying demonic power, and after a while, you felt the arrival of another person? Ji Haoran nodded weakly. Yes. Sun Lang said lightly, That person's physical strength was very strong, and his speed must be very fast. After a while, it means that the monster did not take the initiative to fight, but that person was attracted by the monster's demonic aura. Then the question is, why did the monster release its demonic power? Who was it demonstrating its strength to? There were no other corpses or traces of battle left at the scene. He looked into Ji Haoran's eyes and said lightly, So, who did the monster meet? Ji Haoran was shocked. Oh no, did he guess about the little fairy? As he thought of this, he heard Sun Lang said gloomily, You seem to be hiding something from me. Are you going to tell me yourself? Or should I give you a hint? A biting, cold, murderous aura flashed and swept over Ji Haoran's body. Oh my God, this feeling is actually similar to before. Facing the sharp edge, Ji Haoran suddenly felt that all the pores on his body contracted at the same time. Incomparable horror and fear swept through his body. His body instantly stiffened, and after a while, he said with a sad face, I'll tell you, after about half an hour, the henchmen of Tensei province came over to serve tea. Sun Lang picked up the teacup, drank a few mouthfuls, and said with a smile, It is indeed a surprise. Empress also said, First he saw the sword of K2, then escaped from that kind of battle and brought precious information. This person is indeed a bit interesting. Just now, Ji Haoran couldn't withstand the psychological pressure and finally confessed everything. He told everything that happened after he met Xie Wei and was captured. He didn't dare to hide anything. Sun Lang repeatedly asked him several times. After confirming that there was no mistake, he sent him away and rewarded him with 2 gold ingots. After that, he told him to quickly leave and not return to Huichuan. He said with a smile, This person is indeed interesting. Isn't that more interesting? Empress said. I'm still wondering. How did you know that he met the sword master of the Sword of K2? I'm just guessing, but I'm 80% sure. Sun Lang said indifferently. I've said before that the monster didn't initiate the battle. He was threatening someone and brought about a fatal disaster. We searched a large circle around the scene, but didn't find anyone's remains. There were also no traces of other people fighting at the scene. Therefore, when the battle broke out, the person who was threatened by the Sword of Kadu had already taken the opportunity to escape. Since she was able to escape in that kind of situation, it means that she's not weak. If the Sword of K2 could threaten her with its monster power, then she must have been threatened. No matter how I look at it, the possibility of it being K2 is the highest. Sun Lang smiled. So I tricked her. As expected, we're quite lucky. Empress said, don't be happy too early. Maybe after the Sword of K2 died, the Sword of K2 and the Sword Master were kidnapped by the culprit. That won't be the case. Didn't I say that there were no traces of other people fighting at the scene? K2 and the Sword of K2 are very powerful. I've fought with the B*TCH in Lu Town before. Although the Sword Master's weakness would affect the Sword of K2, it shouldn't be so weak that it couldn't fight back. Even if it couldn't win, it should at least be able to resist for a few dozen moves. He smiled, but there are no traces of K2 at the scene. I remember the Sword of K2's aura. If there was, I would have noticed it. No matter what, although there was a mysterious person with strong martial arts and cruel methods, Sun Lang did have a reason to be happy with the news and clues of the Sword of K2. After all, this was related to my sexual happiness. Empress looked at Sun Lang's happy face and was unhappy. She immediately poured cold water on him. You're happy too early. The Sword of K2 is fine now, but it doesn't mean that it will be fine in the future. Ji Haoran didn't see the whole process. How do you know if the culprit followed the Sword of K2 to find trouble with the Sword of K2, or if the culprit followed K2 and fought with the Sword of K2? If it's the latter, it means that the culprit is still chasing after the Sword of K2. Then, she said coldly, don't be happy here and let someone else beat you to it. Sun Lang smiled faintly. Of course. Sigh. That's why the plan can't keep up with the changes. Now that someone has appeared out of nowhere, we have to adjust our strategy again. Indeed, right now the biggest threat to my plan has already become this mysterious person who kills people at the drop of a hat. The focus of our next phase of work should be appropriately tilted towards him. In short, we have to first see what kind of person he is. Empress looked at him and suddenly became alert. What are you laughing at? What are you up to now? Sun Lang's smile was very sincere and harmless, just like a pure little white rabbit. We have to find out the identity and clues of the culprit. First, we have to find him, but he is running around everywhere and his martial arts are strong. It won't be easy for us to find a needle in a haystack. So, in order to lure him out, I have a perfect plan. I just need a brave and smart helper. I think I know what your plan is. Empress shook her head. So I refuse. Chapter 600. Obviously, Empress's guess was correct. Sun Lang was indeed up to no good. When this guy said his so-called bold plan, Empress was so angry that she almost laughed. This bastard really intended to use her as a bait to lure out the crazy killer from the birth split monster. After Sun Lang vividly described his blood-boiling plan, his large eyes sparkled as he looked at the Emperor's concubine. He was filled with anticipation, as if he really hoped that the Emperor's concubine would lend him a hand. General Tensei refused cruelly. Don't even think about it. Sun Lang said in disbelief. How can that be? Aren't we partners? Empress stared and said, Of course not. Is your brain damaged? Wow. You're not only ruthless, but also cold-blooded. Sun Lang stood up, clenched his fists, and said passionately, the two groups of people who died yesterday and today also had their own families, but they died here silently, never to see their loved ones again. Don't you feel sad, and don't you want to seek justice for them? Empress said coldly, No, whether they are dead or alive, it has nothing to do with me. Sun Lang sighed and said, "Look, there's also a monster prince who died here. This is an international dispute. The murder of a foreign VIP in our country will cause our friends to be surprised. As the saying goes, a first-class foreigner is a second-class official. What's more, this is a foreigner among foreigners. Shouldn't you quickly find out the real murderer, so that you can give an explanation to the monster race in Liyun?" Empress sneered and said, "No, if the imperial court is too weak, it will cause the dissatisfaction of the general who retired to the mountains. Naturally, we have to be tougher. This monster came to our country to kill people, and in the end, he died an unnatural death. The monster race in Liyun should be anxious. After all, we are a dignified country. If we don't agree with them, we will lead troops to kill them." "Hey, you're AF Asterisk King, fast learner." Sun Lang jumped up. "Don't you want to know who the murderer is?" "Of course I want to know," Empress said. "But what does this have to do with me being the bait?" Sun Lang shouted, "Of course it's related. You go and lure it out, then I'll rush out and beat it up and drag it away. Won't this matter be over? So why do you want me to go?" Empress looked at Sun Lang with suspicion and distrust in his eyes. "Be the bait. Why don't you do it yourself?" Sun Lang said proudly, "If I could do it, why would I need you? But I'm too strong. My blazing pressure is like the sun in the darkness. As long as a little of it leaks out, it might be able to scare that person into fleeing." Sun Lang's idea and plan were very simple, since they could deduce that the cause of death of the ancient bird was due to its blindly releasing its domineering aura, which attracted the attention of the murderer. As a result, it was easily torn apart, which meant that this method might work a second time. In other words, he had to find a person with relatively strong martial arts to release his chi in the depths of the mountain and see if he could lure that madman out again. As long as he dared to appear, he would absolutely not be able to escape. So here came the problem. There were too few people who were suitable to be the bait. First of all, their martial arts had to be very strong, but not too strong. For example, if Sun Lang were to stimulate his internal energy and release his genuine chi in the Huaichuan Mountains, anyone with a bit of knowledge would probably run away and scare the murderer away. But they also couldn't be too weak. For example, the henchmen of the county yamen were all so weak that they couldn't attract the attention of the murderer. So after thinking about it, the most suitable person was Empress. Although Empress Tensei's kung fu was not the best, she had the Tianyuan saber in her hand. With the power of the imperial army, her fighting strength was not bad. She was just right to be the bait. However, she refused. Sun Lang sighed and said, "Why did you refuse?" "I don't understand at all." Empress looked at him coldly and said, "Why did you refuse? Don't you have any idea in your heart?" Sun Lang blinked his big eyes and said doubtfully, I don't know. Don't tell me you suspect that I will deliberately delay and not come out after the murderer appears so that guy can beat you up first." The Empress concubine coldly laughed. "Wow, so that's what you think. Am I such a vicious person in your heart?" Sun Lang looked very hurt and said, So you also misunderstood me like this. In this world, is there no one who understands me?" General Tensei said indifferently. "What are you talking about? Aren't there 7 or 8 people in Mingzhou?" Sun Lang rolled his eyes and said directly, "Anyway, are you going or not?" Empress refused flatly, "No." Sun Lang rolled up his sleeves and said, "Then I can only put you down and drag you into the mountains. I will take out the Tianyuan saber and stimulate it to release energy waves. I can also set up a decent trap, but you can't move at that time. Facing the sudden attack of the murderer, you can only pin all your hopes on me to be the hero who saves the damsel in distress." He showed his snow-white teeth and said, "You choose yourself." Empress's expression froze. She gritted her teeth and said, "Scoundrel." Sun Lang shrugged and said, "It's your fault for not calling the elite henchmen of Tensei province over to help. Otherwise, if a few of them came, you wouldn't have to be the bait, right? Call them over to help? I'm afraid that after calling them over, you will secretly kill them." Empress was boiling with anger. This was really a case of one person defeating 10 people with strength. As long as Sun Lang had an absolute advantage in strength, There was nothing she could do to him. She was silent for a moment and said coldly, "If that murderer is really lured over, what guarantee do you have that you will show up on time?" Sun Lang said with a smile, "I already said that I won't do that. His martial arts are so high, and this is not a trick. If you're not careful and get torn apart, what will you do? Don't worry, don't you know me? Although I'm usually a little lively, when it comes to important matters, I will never drop the ball. I'd be a fool to believe you." In any case, Sun Lang was using both the carrot and the stick. He was persuading her with a smile, but behind her back, he was ready to use force. Empress thought of a few ways to deal with him, but they were all hopeless. In the end, she sighed and said, "You better know what you're doing. If you offend me this time, I will not let you go. Let me tell you, I will complain to your wife. If you don't believe me, you can try." Sun Lang waved his hand and said, "You talk too much. All right, let's pack up and go to the mountain." Empress was stunned. So soon? That guy just finished a fight. There is no blood on the scene, which means that he is not seriously injured. Or maybe he is not injured at all. No matter what, he just tore apart a big monster. His body is probably still in a state of excitement. This is the best time to provoke him. He is like a powder keg. He said, "It's better to do it sooner rather than later. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, let's deal with him first and then go find the demon's sword." Just as Empress and Sun Lang set off to return to the mountains and prepare to set up traps and bait, the little fairy Xie Wei finally caught her breath. In the mountain stream, Xie Wei took out a few fruits from her bag and ate them. The sugar brought by the delicious fruits calmed her spirit. She went to drink some water and finally suppressed the fright she had just suffered. She was trapped in the Huaichuan Mountains, and there were people searching for her everywhere. What made things worse was that there was a monster with extremely strong martial arts and a very cruel character here. Just now, he tore apart a big monster. Xie Wei had some lingering fear when she thought of being in the same area as this monster. If he also came to find Sister Lu, wouldn't it be over? The mournful cry of the ancient eagle before its death was still in her ears. The little fairy couldn't help but feel her legs go soft. She was really frightened. She didn't have time to rest anymore. She held the demon's sword and asked worriedly, "Sister Lu, what should we do now? If that person also came to take the demon's sword, I'm afraid we can't escape. After all, next time, there wouldn't be the benevolent and righteous king to block the knife for her. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid." Compared to Xie Wei, the bitch of personality's tone was much calmer. She analyzed, "I thought of what just happened. Why did that monster appear? I don't think it was us who lured it here, but the ancient sculpture. In order to intimidate you and demonstrate its power, the ancient sculpture released its demonic energy. The energy fluctuations were too strong, so it attracted the monster's attention." Xie Wei said weakly. And then, the bitchy personality said, "We can probably come to two conclusions. First, he shouldn't be coming for us. Second, as long as we aren't as stupid as the ancient eagle, we probably won't attract him." The little fairy shook her head. "No, I'm asking, what are we going to do next? Are we going to hide here for half a month?" She looked around. This mountain stream was a good place to stay, but if they wanted to stay here for a long time, they would have to store food, prepare dried meat, and prepare water. There was no time. The B*TCH's tone also became serious. "Yes, I was wrong. I wanted to use this opportunity to let you know the unpredictability of the human heart, but I didn't expect to attract such a monster. We can't stay in Huaichuan any longer. We have to think of a way to leave." Xie Wei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I want to leave, but can I? The roads in all directions are guarded by those martial artists. The eagles in the sky and the beasts on the ground might all be reared by them. If we're not careful, we might expose our tracks. Things are different now. Once we're exposed, it's very likely that we'll attract that terrifying person." The bitch of personality agreed. "That's right. So, we have to think of a way to escape." "What kind of way to escape?" The sword spirit pondered for a moment and said slowly, "The only thing we can do now is to fight to the death. The chaos just now must have made many people panic, especially when they saw the ancient eagle's corpse. They must be frightened by the monster's strength, and many people will retreat. That is to say, Huaichuan may be very chaotic now, and the security is not as strict as before, so, she said firmly, we'll do the opposite and leave from the direction of Huaichuan. Many people must have retreated, and we'll take the opportunity to escape. No one will think of it. Chapter 601. Due to the earth-shattering battle just now, Huaichuan was currently in a state of chaos. County Magistrate Lin had no choice but to lead the Yamen runners and the county soldiers to run around to prevent any irreversible chaos from happening. When Sun Lang and Empress left the county and entered the mountain path, they could see many martial artists gathered outside the mountain pass. There were also many bold masters who chose to head into the mountains. With their martial arts, they could naturally cross the mountain pass and enter the mountains without alerting anyone. The two of them were extremely fast and knew the direction, so they soon arrived at their destination. With the place where the ancient statue fell as the center, Sun Lang chose an ambush point within a radius of 20 miles. This place was neither too far nor too close, just right. Let's do it here. Sun Lang looked around. The valley was empty, birds were flying, and greenery was abundant. It was really a good place to ambush someone. As long as that homicidal maniac dared to appear, he could forget about leaving. If Sun Lang had his eyes on someone, there was no other way out other than to be pinned to the ground and beaten up. General Tensei looked at him indifferently. With a flash of golden light, the thick and gorgeous blade of the heavenly essence saber materialized and fell into her hand. Empress said slowly, "Are you sure it'll work?" Sun Lang smiled and said, "I have to try. It's not like I'll lose a piece of meat." Empress glared at him and said, "Then why don't you scram to the side?" Sun Lang thought for a moment and waved his hand. "Wait, I almost forgot. Your heavenly essence saber is emitting the aura of the Imperial Army. You have to do something to avoid being seen through." He stepped forward and took the heavenly essence saber from General Tensei's hand. Empress was instinctively shocked when the Imperial Army saber was taken away. She wanted to reach out and take it back, but when she saw Sun Lang's indifferent expression, she shook her head and sighed, no longer moving. Sun Lang didn't notice Empress Concubine's small actions. He took a few glances at the heaven essence saber's body and reached out his hand to gently stroke the back of the saber. An invisible force extended in all directions. A moment later, he handed the saber over and smiled. "It's done." After Empress took the saber in a daze, Sun Lang stepped back with his hands behind his back. He dodged to the side and gave Empress a thumbs up. "Anyway, I'll leave it to you. I'll pay attention to the surroundings. If there are any ignorant experts of the Jianghu who come to make trouble, I'll be responsible for tying them to the side." Empress shook her head and finally made up her mind. She closed her eyes and communicated with the heavenly essence Imperial Army. In an instant, a brilliant golden light soared into the sky. It was majestic and domineering, and a terrifying aura roared and spread in all directions. Sun Lang hid in the dark. It was unknown what method he used, but everything around him seemed to have become one with him. All of his aura was restrained in an instant. At this moment, even if a vigilant person walked past him, they wouldn't be able to detect him. He stared at the heavenly essence saber in Empress's hand without moving. His eyes flickered as if he was observing something. This saber, the more I look at it, the more interesting it is. Sun Lang's trick was indeed effective. The aura of the Imperial Army on the heavenly essence saber and Empress's Jinshi almost merged into one, creating the powerful aura of a super expert. This terrifying aura soared into the sky, as if it was a demonstration and a provocation. All of the martial arts experts who noticed this strange movement frowned. No one dared to rashly investigate. After all, this seemed like a challenge. Before the fight started, it was better to observe first and not join in the fun. The blazing dragon aura attached to the heavenly essence saber let out a long roar. It resounded through the heaven and earth, causing the surrounding wind to howl and sand to fly. Sun Lang leaned against a tree trunk in the wind and narrowed his eyes to observe the surroundings. They hadn't come yet. Empress was obviously a little impatient. She looked at the place where Sun Lang was hiding and used her eyes to convey the meaning. Can you do it or not? Sun Lang picked up a grass stem that had been blown away and put it in his mouth to taste it. He waved his hand, meaning, wait a little longer. While they were waiting for the target to take the bait, a sneaky figure was quietly walking in the direction of Huichuan County. Hey, we're about to see a human. Can you be normal? The bitch personality scolded. You're usually so kind-hearted and upright. You have to have a clear conscience in everything you do. Why do you look like a thief now? Naturally, she was talking about Xia Wei. After the little minx listened to the bitch personality's plan, she felt that it was very reasonable. She felt that Sister Lu was really clever. This must be a good way to escape, so she did it excitedly. However, there was a gap between theory and practice. Although this kind of plan sounded very exciting, it was not so easy to carry out. The main content of this plan was that Xia Wei would pretend to be a Jianghu person who had entered the mountain to search for the divine sword, but was scared out of her wits by the battle that happened there. She would immediately leave the mountain and leave Huichuan County calmly in the chaos. Therefore, the main test of this plan was Xia Wei's acting skills. Yes, acting skills. She had to show the fear of being frightened, the cowardice of wanting to escape, the peace of mind of seeing a human being, and the calmness of being calm in the chaos. For example, a husky being chased by a tiger mixed into a pack of wolves. With the help of the wolves' numbers and group advantage, the husky would escape the tiger's pursuit and then calmly leave. The success or failure mainly depended on the quality of the husky. As for Xia Wei's acting skills, it was a bit unflattering. This little minx was used to being righteous and awe-inspiring. Although she was excited to do such a stimulating thing, she was still a bit flustered. This mentality was involuntarily reflected in her movements, making her look like she was tiptoeing and sneaking around. At first glance, she looked very suspicious. Don't look around furtively. Your eyes should be filled with fear, like a frightened deer. But your eyes should be filled with joy, because you're acting as a human. You're humans and your natural allies. Places with humans won't be attacked by monsters. That's how you feel. Think about it. If you expose yourself, you'll be done for. The B*TCH chattered endlessly, pointing out Xia Wei's many omissions. Alas, if Sun Lang were to do this, not only would he not arouse any suspicion, but he would also be able to coax the people who bumped into him. You can't beat him, and you are not as ruthless as him. Now it seems that you are not as good at acting as him, and you are not as shameless as him. How can you defeat him? Sun Lang again. Xia Wei curled her lips. Sister Lu, how do you know that Sun Lang can act? How do you know him so well? The B*TCH snorted coldly. Of course I know. Do you think I am an idiot like you? He is my irreconcilable enemy, so I naturally have to carefully understand him in all aspects. Xia Wei bickered with the sword spirit while speeding up. After crossing a mountain, she saw the county in the distance, as well as the nearby mountain pass. There were groups of people guarding there in 2s and 3s. Her heart skipped a beat, and she heard the B*TCH's voice through the spiritual link. Be careful, be careful. Try not to give yourself away. Otherwise, we can only fight our way out. Originally, Xia Wei had encountered humans several times, so her appearance and clothes were clearly remembered. Those who had some connections in Huichuan County would know this basic information. If she walked into Huichuan County like this, she might be recognized at a glance, even if Huichuan County was in turmoil. However, Xia Wei had no parents since she was young, and she was a good girl, so she had practiced excellent needlework since she was young. Several sets of clothes in the bag were changed by her and made into a large cloak covering her whole body. She also made a bamboo hat on the spot and hid the demon's sword under the cloak. If she was dressed properly, she would not attract too much attention all the way down the mountain. The attention of the people in Huichuan County had been attracted by the strange movement just now. They suspected that some peerless master had obtained the divine sword. Out of concern for their own interests, they did not have time to pay attention to other things. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Xiaowei felt her heart thumping wildly, but she tried to make herself look more natural. She passed by one person after another. At most, people just glanced at her and turned their attention back to the conversation with their companions. They were discussing in low voices what had happened and whether there were masters fighting for the divine sword. Everything was going so smoothly. As long as she successfully passed through this mountain pass, it was equivalent to passing the most difficult stage. Then, a blazing dragon's roar sounded from a mountain. It was the rolling power of Empress Tianyuan blade. Everyone was startled, and then there was a commotion. This was a good opportunity to speed up and escape, but Xiaowei felt the key to demon sword behind her vibrating. The B*TCH's personality said in disbelief, "This feeling, it's like the Imperial Army and not the Imperial Army. This degree of fluctuation, it feels a bit like Xiaowei's panicked voice sounded in the spiritual world. Sister Lu, what are you talking about? A few people have already noticed me. What should I do?" The B*TCH's personality suddenly woke up and swept the surroundings with her spiritual sense. Just now, the key to Demon Sword had sensed some kind of fluctuation and involuntarily resonated with it. Such a strange sound and a faint purple light penetrating through the cloak attracted the attention of several people nearby. She said in a deep voice, "Don't panic, continue to walk slowly." "Damn it, why is it here again? Run." Xiaowei was shocked, but in the next moment, she understood what had happened. A familiar and terrible pressure came from behind her. It was the monster that had torn the ancient sculpture apart before. Xiaowei screamed involuntarily and ran away. Behind her, a murderous aura surged and a terrifying aura surged, accompanied by a roar that almost resounded through the world. "Sword! My sword! I finally found it! I finally found it!" That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.